Yeah, Cooney's never.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to Spurs Diehards, Tottenham Till I Die. We are the independent to others TMZ, shall we say. When others are looking to catch you in a precarious position, we like to simply tell you you are in a precarious position. I'd like to welcome my regulars. Adrian, how are you today, sir?
I'm fine, and you strike lucky because me and Ian have been waiting to host a win. I'm as happy as every Spurs fan out there, I think, and even some of the most pessimistic realise you can book your tickets for Bilbao, but I'm sure we get into it. And back to you.
Well, believe it or not, chat, Adrian and Ian, myself, Steve, and Mr. Rakdos Madness, none of us had grey hair the last time Spurs won a meaningful competition. We were all young. We were all, I was going to say feral. I don't know. We had a lot more stamina than we do now. Let's just say that. I want to thank everyone for joining us in the chat, the regulars. I can already see a couple walking in. We'll say hello to our guests. Steve, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm excellent. It's a great day today, man. I don't know how you guys feel, but win, lose, or draw, it doesn't matter, man. All my days are excellent, so I can't complain.
There we go. The sun did shine a little bit brighter in Kansas City today. Alan, how are you? How's San Diego?
San Diego's pretty dreary, but we just flew in from vacation. I was in the Bahamas for the last week and some. So It was beautiful there. And I got to watch the game yesterday on the flight home. And what a game. Feeling amazing. I was cheering on the plane and everyone else was looking at me like I was crazy.
There you go. Usually cheering on the plane can mean one of two things, and I'm not sure I like either of them. We'll say hello quickly to some people in the chat. We've got Spurs GCTV. How you doing today, mate? Glad you're here. Glad you're here. Peter Kagaius, good to see you again. Spurs fan John. We got Super Blaine Devlin, as always. Pleasure to see you. I guess I was going to start with, complaining about Ange, telling everyone, he's not good enough. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's got no plans. Hang on. No, that's the wrong show. Sorry, guys. That's
what you get. That's what you get for partying early. 2 days early, that's exactly what you get.
That's exactly what you get. Guys, by hook or by crook, we are through to the semi-finals of the Europa League. And I'm going to say that again because I think I just gave myself goosebumps. We are through to the semi-final of the Europa League. And I just want to say, I, for one, I'm somewhat relieved because at least we've got respite for a couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to the game on Monday, but I don't know, the general consensus now seems to be that we're going to sack off the league and just worry about the European Cup. And the Europa League. And that'll be fine until we lose Monday night and then everyone will lose their minds again. But we'll worry about that later on down the road. For right now, Adrian, what are your initial thoughts on the match?
Yeah, when I saw the lineup, we all, prior to this, we only found out the news about Son's been nursing a sore foot for a while. So there was concern people were trying to rejig their permutation for who would actually play in this game. I mean, there was only going to be two positions really, either whether Spence played as one of the fullbacks or not. And with Sonny out, I think it all turned out to be a good choice. I'm sure we'll come on to him, but I thought he worked hard. as did Johnson as well, believe it or not. But they all did. Yeah. So, yeah, I thought lineup, we're going for this, and I like. I mean, I've had a bet to win this competition, only a tenner at 9-2. So like, I'm okay, and like, yeah, and there'll be a few Spurs pessimists, or maybe many Spurs pessimists out there, who now have something to cheer about. And I'm sure they're pessimistic, a lot of them with good reason, about, especially with our form in the league. But it just goes to show that this team are capable of doing it. If you can go away and win 4-0 at Man City, and I don't care if people say they were rubbish just because we beat them 4-0. I mean, you can't do that. Otherwise, you're gonna critique every win we have, and that's just ridiculous, right? And you go away and you beat Man City 3-0, and you thrash West Ham and Everton and Aston Villa at home. You know, that's not a fluke. It's not a fluke. So we know this team's got it in it, and thank God they turned up. So back to you.
Well, they certainly did turn up. I had the pleasure of listening to a watch along on the Irish Hotspur because unfortunately I was at work and I couldn't get the time off. So I did a listen along, and then I watched it again. I watched it last night, and then I listened to it again this morning, and then I kind of half watched it as I was running around today. I kind of had it in my ear or just listening to the commentary again. Steve, they did turn up.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the team selection, I think, other than maybe up front, was for the most part what we were expecting. I guess what we weren't expecting is for everybody to actually turn up.
Yeah, I know. It was a magical day, and that was one of the big things that I was curious to find out for myself, is whether this team actually had the capability of showing up all at the same time. Over the course of the last couple of months, you've had 1 or 2, 3 brilliant and individual performances, but for the most part, the total team effort just seriously just wasn't there, and you had to question whether or not they were actually, taking their job seriously, or if they were just kind of waiting until the end of the season so they could start their summer vacations. But last night, that was a beautiful performance, and it was something that I knew that this group of players had in them. It was just waiting for that, that magical game where they would finally all just show up and kind of move together as a unit. I think in the pregame, as a matter of fact, the same pre-match buildup that you were listening to on the Irish Hotspur, I think the question was, what player was going to be the difference maker? And I said, it's not about one player, it's about multiple players. It was going to be, Vicario, Van de Ven, and Romero, reminding everyone just exactly why they are world-class defenders. Right. If you look at how this team plays, it generally starts with those three, whether it's defensively or, starting out the attack. And if they showed up, this team was going to have a very good opportunity to win. And sure enough, they again reminded why they're world-class players. But I do want to give a shout out to Pedro Porro, because he proved me wrong yesterday. And all the questions of how come Jet Spence was in that lineup. And yesterday you saw Pedro Porro put on a defensive masterclass yesterday. I thought he was absolutely brilliant yesterday. And he reminded why everybody he's a starter. So I was absolutely just thrilled with that performance yesterday.
Awesome. Alan, what were you most impressed with yesterday?
I was impressed with how Dom Solanke took his penalty. It's a big pressure moment. It was the decisive blow.
And his form's not been amazing, right? So the fact that he steps up.
And in fact, I saw Matthias Tell with the ball initially, and then I think I could see Ange mouthing Dom, and I think that's what the announcers are saying too. It sounded like he was saying Dom. He wanted Dom to take it, so Dom took it. I was very impressed with Vicario. I think that he did very well. He didn't have too many saves to make, but the saves he did have to make, he made very well. Whether they were simple ones, he didn't bobble it, and when they were difficult ones, he made them. And his distribution was better. He was kicking long, and he was playing out from the back. I was very impressed with Mickey Van de Ven for what he did. He put in a sliding tackle that probably on Ekiteki that was otherwise most likely a goal.
There was on 16 minutes.
Yep.
About Van der Ven tackle on
Yep.
Ekatike. Yep.
That really did save. And he is so fast. I mean, in Ekatike, we saw in the first leg, he's a very fast runner. He's their center forward. He's
no
very
slouch,
fast.
right? Yeah.
He's no slouch. But compared to Mickey Van de Ven just puts on the afterburners and goes. And overall, it looked like the team was. I was most impressed that everyone seemed to be singing from the same hymn sheet. They were all executing. No one was dragging ass. No one was kicking the ball half-heartedly with which we've seen in the past. Half-hearted passes, lackadaisical throws, stuff like that. None of that happened yesterday. Everything was on. And, I could critique that we didn't technically score an open field goal. We scored from a penalty. And however, we kept a clean sheet, and that's huge for us.
Yeah.
Sad or not, but it's a good thing. Getting a clean sheet at the end, it felt really good. And so I was just impressed with the team overall. Matthias Tell put in a couple of good shots. We handled very well without our normal captain, without Heung-min Son, which I don't know if it was the press and the journos that were trying to make it more than it really was. Oh no, Son's not here, he's staying home. What does that mean? Are they going to screw up? But we didn't. It was as if he wasn't missing at all. Really, I didn't. To be honest, I didn't even notice.
I know. We'll come on to you, Adrian, because after about 25 minutes, there was a pretty stinging shot with Tell from distance. And the Frankfurt keeper, to be fair, had another pretty good game by all accounts. I think he made a couple of really good saves. But that front line, I mean, I know, I'm not by any means suggesting that it's the finished article at all. But the front three looked like they were doing their very best to try and play themselves into some sort of form. I mean, people have said it was arguably Johnson's best game in a Spurs shirt. Solanke was just an absolute workhorse and put himself about. And Tell, it's starting to look like a footballer.
Yeah, I was impressed with Tell yesterday because he was able to give us a physicality in that position which Sonny wouldn't be able to give us. So I'm a big Son fan though. I'm not writing him off yet because he's got one season to go. Let's see how he does. Whether these injuries and this groin injury, which had the operation on him, stuff like that, his numbers are still good, but he hasn't looked good on the eye test. I think his numbers, like goal scoring numbers and assists, are very good, but it's just his performances. When Sonny's not on form, when he blasts balls over the bar or wide, you know he's not form, and at least get him on target and force a save. But that shot at Santos, it was curling into him, but I don't think he see it because there's a crowd of players in front of Santos. So it was a good save, and he palms it away for a corner, doesn't he? Nothing came from the corner. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Tell put in a shift yesterday, and I started to think about this guy. Looks like if he can do that, he'll be okay in the Premier League. The only query our Spurs fans are going to have is he's got to keep it up, and then the query will be, well, okay, you're a good player, but we ain't paying on what we've seen so far. 55, 60 mil for you, because that's just not on. We're not doing it. Well, I want to thank the 49 of you that are watching us. Thank God I've gone a Good Friday when you should be out on the lash.
Steve, I want to come to you. The one thing that I was and have been very aware of, listening to the commentary, listening to the watch along, watching the bits that I have seen, very aware that, and this especially, I think, Vicario, Van der Ven and Romero, that triangle there was a lot of talking, a lot of pointing between them, and then in turn those guys, Romero and Van der Ven, passing messages on. And it looked to me, or from the sense that I'm getting, is that you've got a group of players there that are finally kind of over their worries of their injuries, and they're finally remembering how to play as a nucleus, and things are kind of starting to click again. I think, I know we've obviously harped on about the injuries, and I don't want to talk about those or anything, but I just think, we're seeing finally that light at the end of the tunnel not being a train. Your thoughts on that? I think we're just seeing a slightly more comfortable, and I want to caveat this chat by just saying this was by no means a finished performance. To be brutally honest with you, I'm going to pop the balloon a little bit. I think as a team and as a club, this is actually the very least that we should be expecting. But I'll draw a line on the negativity or realism, because as things go, and in the current context, I think of the season, this was above and beyond, and there were some absolutely stellar performances. But let's not put lipstick on a pig. It's still the very, very least that we want to expect of our players and what we should be expecting. So yeah, I do. As I say, I do want to caveat that, but I don't want us thinking people were happy clapping and going over the top. That would be absolutely crazy. But Steve, relationships on the field, what does it say about people having time to play with each other, if you'll pardon the pun?
Well, I think it's absolutely monumental, right? We're forgetting that these three haven't played together regularly since the turn of the new year, whether it be a lack of form or being injury. And of course it was injury. These guys have only played 16, 17 times this year. Right. So there was not a lot of time for these guys to continue to build on that relationship from last season. And so having these guys back in training, also being back to be able to work and continue that partnership at the back line, it's absolutely monumental. And now that they've had 3 or 4 different starts together now to get used to each other, you're starting to see that partnership manifest. I think the biggest compliments you can give these guys is the fact that the chemistry between each other. They're able to read each other's minds. They're able to feel each other's thoughts on the field. Their spacing, their ability to pick up runners. You mentioned Ekatike and his ability to dart through channels with a ball that's over the top. And by the way, that was a great ball over the top too. And Van de Ven spotted it, got on his horse, and all of a sudden closed down the gap within a minute of a second and put on one of the sexiest slide tackles I think I've ever seen, and did it in a way where the ball ricochets out of bounds instead of on target, saving Spurs Europa League season. So having those two back there is night and day better than anything that we put out there in the interim. And that's no disrespect to a guy like Archie Gray. He's just not a center back. A guy like Kevin Danso, who, again, no disrespect to, who was coming from, Ligue 1 and hasn't necessarily applied his trade consistently at the Premier League level. It's just a different level. And I know this sounds cliche, but there are levels to this game. And we saw a clinical masterpiece last night, but it's also having Vicario back there too, and understanding who's in front of him, and the spacing in front of him to understand exactly how a shot's going to come in, and he understands exactly how they're going to be, and he knows exactly where to position himself to get in front of a good ball. And I remind you guys back to the shot in the second half, that point blank shot as Frankfurt was kind of turning the screw a little bit and putting pressure. That ball was literally within 5 feet of Vicario, and he makes one of the sexiest kick saves I think I've ever seen. Which it's a reminder just exactly how world class these players are. And I'm sure we're going to get into it maybe either tonight or at a different day. But the idea of letting Christian Romero walk this offseason to Real Madrid is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, if you have these 3 players on your team, they should probably be here at least for the next 5 seasons. You want to keep those guys in their prime because these are the type of people that will actually give us the trophy we so badly want.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess it's the determination of the team ultimately, which on 41 minutes caused the penalty.
But look at the leadership skills. Look at the leadership skills. Right. Look at both Romero and Van de Ven shouting at their teammates. As Frankfurt was able to slide passes through the midfield, and Van de Ven's pointing and shouting like, no, that's not what we're doing tonight. No, that's not what we're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah, so it absolutely started from the back. And I think it was apparent all the way through the team. And Alan, I think especially apparent, I know he's got his critics, one being me being one of them, kind of, Maddison. I think, he can be a little bit hit and miss sometimes, take nothing away from the kid. But he put himself out there last night to win that penalty, and I mean ultimately ended up being the winning goal. But I mean, it just says a lot about his mindset, just willing to get himself in the way and put his body on the line for the sake of the team, right?
I mean, well, first I want to say that Romero was the mastermind of that whole thing, and without Romero, we don't have that amazing setup. You know, he just out of nothing puts it over, and then suddenly Madison, looking like an outfielder in baseball, kind of like catches it and then brings it in. I don't even think he saw the goalie. Was it Santos? I don't think he even saw Santos until it was like too late, and then into a wall of a man.
Yeah,
And
I don't even think he saw him.
I don't think he saw him. Mm-mm. And I don't. Correct me if I'm wrong with the rules. I don't think you can award a penalty kick and red card someone. Correct? It's going to be a yellow card at most if you award a penalty. Or can you red card someone?
I'm pretty sure. Well, I don't know because I think there was back in the day they called it double jeopardy, wasn't it? You get the penalty and you get sent off, and it was kind of frowned. It was like, well, come on, man, one or the other. Like you've got to. So you might actually have something there, but I don't know for sure. You carry on talking, and I'll actually find out because I do like.
Because I thought the goalie should have been. Honestly, I think they could have red carded him. I mean, he really shouldn't be doing that. You can't clatter someone. It looked like he knocked him out. I mean, really, it was a terrible tackle, and he did it twice. He did it twice in the game. Right. He did it once to Madison and once to Solanke. And it's, I was a little disappointed with how the refs were all game. They awarded some weird things. Luckily, they did award the penalty. I don't know that they were truly in our favor. I would rather than just be completely neutral. But yeah, I think it was a red card.
So they used to refer to it as like a double punishment, right? But basically, the suggestion is that obviously you should be entitled to one or the other because it's slightly unfair. But the actual rules say that you can be sent off and you can receive a red card. This is not a double punishment, but rather the consequences of severity of the foul and its impact on the game. So technically, he could have, So it's interesting that you brought that up.
And when you looked at
I mean, like it was reckless. The goalkeeper knew what he was doing. You don't come out that far if you don't know what you're doing, right? It was reckless. He got away with one. We won the game. If that had been the crucial point in the game and we'd lost or something, there'd have been lots more said about it. But we won the game in the end. But
we became nuclear as a fan base.
Yeah, I mean, like to me, it was a red. I thought you've come out, you've taken it out, and when the referee didn't give it, I thought, oh, that'll be it. That won't go to VAR now, but it did. Thank God it went to VAR. As soon as he's going to have a look at it, then I thought, great, he's going to give it because how many refs don't? The only referee didn't give a VAR decision that I see. There's probably been a couple, but one was Laurenti's handball against Man City. Remember we went through 4-3 to the final against to play Ajax in the semi-final, rather. That was you couldn't tell anyway. It was touch and go, So, but
the argument on the field from the keeper himself was like he was trying to play the ball, but when you look at his hands, right, the hands will dictate whether or not he was actually playing the ball, and his hands were out wide. Right, and he was coming in chest first to Madison, right? So he wasn't playing the ball; he was playing the player. And you got to give. I believe now. Correct me if I'm wrong. You have to give the player the ability to actually play the ball, and and that was the thing. It's like the ball in Madison's head collided with that dude's chest, all in the same motion. So
I think their fantastic fan base influenced the ref there. I think the fan base intimidated the ref, influenced him.
Yeah, or 3,000 plus.
There should have been a second yellow on the play with Solanke as well too, and he actually should have been dismissed from the match at that point. From that point on. 100%.
But you're right. To go back to the original question, Madison it has been very hit and miss this season. He's a young. I mean, to me, he's young. He's a young,
27,
temperamental.
28. I mean,
Anybody
yeah,
over the age
to
of
me,
30 is it?
to all of us, he's pretty young. But you know,
Yeah, he's young.
in
He's a
football
young,
years,
temperamental guy. He's young and temperamental, and he wears his heart on his sleeve. I think you can tell what kind of emotions he's feeling just by the look on his face.
Yeah.
And so maybe he's not a poker player. He's a darts player, not a poker player, perhaps. But
Right, yeah.
but yesterday he was very commanding, and I certainly wanted the penalty, not at the cost of him going out of the game, but I wanted the penalty, and I certainly didn't want him to get hurt. So it was good to hear that he didn't suffer too much damage. After the game, Ange gave an update on Madison, because he was saying, I think he was complaining about hip pain, not so much head pain, which is really good because from the way it looked when he collided with the goalie, it looked like he had a severe head injury. So
and
it was
obviously
good
with
to
a
know
concussion or something like that, with the protocols, you're looking at probably ultimately him being out for at least 2 weeks, which it doesn't hinder the European stuff so much, but you would rather that not be the case regardless, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously the challenge, Adrian, meant that Kulusevski had to come on. Obviously, I'm thinking just by how long it maybe took him to get into the game, to the rhythm of it, I think this was earlier than obviously expected. But he came on, and he had an impact. And the one thing I was hearing in my ear is that he's not ready, shouldn't have brought him on. But the flip side of that is you're taking off creativity, and the only other real option I think was, unless you're really going to go kind of a little bit crazy, the only other option was Sarr. And that really nullifies all your creativity up front, right, Adrian? So this was the best move, even if you'd ultimately had to have taken him off again, right?
Yeah, and it weren't like, look, if he was hobbling off or something like that, he's took a dig, right? Come off, take no chances, right? And we're through now, and Kulu comes on, so that's a plus because he gets more minutes in his legs. He did all right when he come on. He didn't have to be spectacular when he came on because we were, we were already winning.
He just had to defend it. Yeah.
He really didn't need to be, I guess, extroverted, shall we say? He really didn't need to go out and try and hunt things down and just he basically needed to be the cog in the machine to help everything tick over, right?
Yeah. I think the evening, Ian.
Good evening. Sorry, guys, I didn't know I was on duty tonight. I hope everybody's well.
Yeah, I think when Decky came on, he played within himself, as did all the forwards anyway. But they grafted, even Johnson grafted, everyone put in a shift, did their bit. Tell's actually, if you go and look at Tell's stats and Bergvall's stats as well, were really good
100%.
as well.
100%.
Were really good. But I did make a list of people I thought would get man of the match later on, after we've gone through this. But I thought that was good for Kulu to get time on his legs. And look, we've got time now, and Ipswich are bound to lose a game, so there's no fear of relegation. There's a banner on that I'll give for Drew later as well there. And I just think now's a good time, now that this is behind us, to actually get a chance to see more of Tell, more of Odebert, more of Mikey Moore. That's what I want to see now. Now, Angel wanted to win every game, obviously, because that's his style and get as high up the league as possible. I get that. I don't really give too much of a shit about the league positions. I want to see a bit of growth now, and I want to see improvement. I want to see improvement in the team performance. I want to see cohesion. I don't want to see us looking disjointed. And I think playing that midfield three, which is played together for 3 games on the spin now, you're starting to see it a bit. And they were a bit disciplined. And I think that was down to Romero and VDV as well, shouting at them. Right? So don't go charging too far forward. Having that, I could actually critiqued us, because even when we did get forward, I thought when we got forward, we got some good threatening positions, but we were wasteful.
Yes.
As if we didn't believe we wanted to score a goal. We were wasteful. But, we just got to the end of the first half here, and give us your take.
My take on the just the first half, or
Yeah, well, this is as far as we've got up to. So then, if you give us your
Thanks,
take,
Drew.
then we'll kind of all be on the same page.
The penalty.
I think I'll take it step by step, and then you're looking at the first 10 or 15 minutes, and you're thinking, we're different tonight. We're organised. We're disciplined. We're focused, and we haven't really seen that anywhere near as much as we ought to have done over the last few weeks. The shape was good. I mean, everything about it was good. The other thing is, I mean, I commented on this to my partner that they're not hurting us. They're not. You expect a team like that, they'll be raining shots on goal. Vicario's going to be scrapping across his goal, making saves. There'll be last-ditch tackles, and other than the one where that long ball just caught us out, and Van der Ven. If it wasn't for Van der Ven, we'd probably gonna go down then. But no, I just thought everything about that first half was everything Spurs aren't: organised, disciplined, resilient, focused. It's not what Spurs teams are. And I was just really, really happy with that first half. And of course the goal. I don't know what on earth VAR took what they were looking at for so long. I mean, as I say that as an ex-referee, I mean, when you don't get to the ball first and you clean out the player, it's an infringement. It's a foul. I mean, just thankfully, I mean, actually, I think refereeing in Europe is normally a few state classes above what we see in the Premier League. But I thought the refereeing that I've seen this week in the Champions League and the Europa League is been atrocious. The referee in the Arsenal or the Real Madrid Arsenal game was very, very poor.
It was a red card for me, and was it a red card for you?
I think that once he doesn't get the ball and he cleans out, the foul is so reckless. And does it endanger an opponent? Of course it endangers an opponent. So for me, it was a penalty kick and a red card. But as I say, we've seen so many poor decisions this week in Europe that, I mean, to be honest with you, I'd settle for the penalty any day of the week. Because we got up. Hi, Jose. Good evening, my friend. That reminds me, I haven't done my predictions yet. I need to get them done.
Me too.
Another big day at the races tomorrow. So I just thought everything about that first half was just so good. Absolutely so good.
Yeah, I'll go down. Drew's back. I don't know if he's.
Sorry, I just I had a little phone thing. I tell you what, we'll just move on to, because this kind of happened. Did this happen at the end of the first half or the beginning of the second half?
No, it's at the end of the first half.
It was
the end of the first. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't
It was a
quite
bit
remember.
of a
I mean,
kerfuffle.
the one thing I do want to bring up, I think, I don't know if coming of age is real. I think that might be a step too far. But I think Johnson showed that he had a little bit more about him last night. Steve, I want to come to you. What was the difference between last night compared to every other time we've seen him, or am I reading too much into his performance and what people are saying?
So here's the thing, man, and maybe you guys disagree, but I do believe that right now, Johnson is a relegation merchant at most. Like, I'll give you a good example. In that game a couple weeks ago against Southampton at home, you actually saw a motivated Johnson on that right side. He was actually, like, when he would get his back pocket picked, he would jump right back on the ball and try to challenge for it. He was actually lively, getting in advantageous positions to score goals. Last night, on the other hand, I don't know. Like, we talk about a total team performance, but on that right side, I didn't necessarily see a spirited performance from Johnson. I actually think I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you guys feel something completely different, but maybe it's just my bias against Johnson. I personally think his development has stagnated a little bit, and he does.
Did you not even? Well, let me ask. Did you not even in last night's performance with him? Did you not even see anything that suggested that should be his base level, or was it not?
Like
even...
I didn't even think he was clean on his runs to the right side. I thought he was a little bit tentative in 1v1 situations, whereas we saw even in that Southampton, even in last week against Wolves, at least he was trying to get on the end of balls and forward runs. And as a matter of fact, it was in that Wolves game where he put one across. He got himself in a good position, ran on to the end of the ball and put one over, which ended up being a goal. Last night, it didn't seem like he was. I wouldn't say trying is the right word. It just didn't seem like he was getting himself into advantageous positions to actually be a force in the attack as well too. When you look at the difference between the effort that Matisse Tell put in versus Brendan Johnson, it's actually night and day.
Mm-hmm. All right, fair enough. We will move on.
By the way, it's not to say that I don't like Brendan Johnson, because I think he could actually develop into a good player. But I actually think that he's gotten a little too comfortable, a little too complacent, and I think that stagnated his development.
And before Drew moves on, I just want to plug the channel. We've had 67 of you viewing us now. Most of you are on XCOM, probably viewing us or listening to us. One or two chilling out with a beer or something, glass of wine. I want to thank you all for tuning in. But if you could, give our videos the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel and spread the word about Spurs Diehards. We've been going 9 months now. We're doing okay, but every little help helps. Every little extra bit of help helps. So that, and we do go out every Tuesday at 9 o'clock, every Friday at 10 o'clock to attract more of the American, Canadian, and Southern Hemisphere audience, and Sundays at 9 o'clock. Although we won't be doing a show this Sunday because we're playing Forest on Monday, so. Ian will host the show Tuesday instead of me. I'll co-host with him. So we won't be doing a show this Sunday, okay? Unless, of course, there's a massive breaking news PR blunder at our club, which we're only usually seconds away from, usually, as a Spurs fan.
I believe there was one. I believe there was one today. I believe there. I read something, a little bit of breaking news this morning about one Scott Munn.
Oh yeah, Scott Munn going and Vinay Venkatesham taking over. Yeah, I think we know that's probably what is going to happen. And all right, back to you, Drew. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're perfectly fine. 61st minute, Porro corner, Romero heading wide, and there was a sense getting up to this because I think there was a bit of a lull. Leading into the beginning of the first half, and it was a little bit of huffing and puffing from both teams, but nobody really doing a great deal. And then about the hour mark, it felt like we were trying to kind of turn the screw a little bit. Alan, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we did ease up on the gas right after the first half. They had a lot more of the possession. But it was in the midfield. They weren't taking a lot of shots. They just had a lot of the ball in the midfield. Them taking shots didn't really start happening until closer to the end of the game when things started to get a little scary. And I think we needed a little luck, which we had on our side because they had some pretty poor kicks, pretty easy for Vicario to stop. But this corner, again, Romero, I thought initially from the angle when you were watching it, I thought he scored. So I was almost ready to start cheering, and then I noticed that he had not scored. But it was a great shot, a great corner. I saw one of the comments. We had a lot of good corner kicks. A bunch of them, that really good, put in the right place. It's just luck of the draw. They were able to knock them away. But we're doing that better. I don't know if it's because the way Sonny kicks corner kicks, he kind of goes for the near post, and it tends to just get knocked away very quickly. Except for the time that he scored, I don't know in historically, if Sonny was always the best person, I think Christian Eriksen was always a better corner kicker. But
That's funny you say that because I felt like for for all the good Christian Eriksen was, he couldn't beat the first man at the near post for Toffee. I can't, at least I can't remember him doing it very often. But no, I know what you mean about actually. Sonny puts his right on top of the keeper. I think in the hope of, because he's obviously scored from a corner before, and I think he likes to put it right on top and cause a bit of confusion. Where I think Porro's corners are a little bit more cultured, and they end up in a bit more of a danger zone that people can actually go and attack, as opposed to being reactionary and having to react to a knockdown or a fumble from the keeper or something like that. I don't know if that's just me waffling about football or if there's any merit to that.
No. I think you're right. I think you're right that he's more cultured. In fact, it's one of the things about Pedro Porro that's kind of frustrating to me, because he also has kind of hit or missed the season. Historically, this season they've scored many goals down his side, but his kicking is so good. It's the one thing I think that he's out and out just playing better than Jed Spence on, is his ability to kick and really target kicking. Because I don't think Jed Spence kicks corner kicks when he's in. I don't remember who kicks for him, but Pedro Porro does it, and he does it really, really well. I think he even takes a shot or two.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show, because on 67 minutes, I know there was a shot on 66. Tell did really well, shot wide. And then Adrian on 67, another Porro corner. And this time Bentancur manages to get his head on it, and it goes over. But that's just, Porro does have that ability to, he's really got a wand of a foot on him at times, right?
Yeah.
I think what was important, Drew, is I thought throughout we were creating the better, clearer chances. Apart from that one little spell where Vicario made a great save, and can't remember the name of the guy, flunked two
Christensen missed two, didn't he? And he missed one with his left foot and one with his right foot. And he should have done better with both, shouldn't he?
Absolutely. Yeah. But he
had the header that rolled past the post, I think he did as well.
Yeah, but Adrian, take that away and work on the basis, if you're playing in an away game in Europe in a quarter-final, you are going to be under some pressure at some points. Take that little 3 or 4 minute spell away, and then tell me what else Frankfurt did that looked like threateners. That's how good we were.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. They did have. You'll see the stats later when it brings them up. They did come out, and they often passed second half. They had a lot more of the ball than we did, but like you said, they didn't hurt us. They could have hurt us, but it's the same. You see that in every game. If everyone team scored every chance they had, they'd be great to watch. But, we'd all be nervous wrecks, right?
Well, every team at some point needs to have the ability to be able to soak up pressure, right? You cannot go gung-ho 90 minutes and just say, well, we'll just outscore our opponent. It just doesn't happen. With the best will in the world. Even that brilliant Keegan Newcastle team that were going to outscore most people couldn't do it. We'll just round up the minute by minute, just
want to talk on that defensive part about. Yeah. I want to give a prep up for Bergvall, because he dropped back to help Bentancur out. And I've been screaming for two holding midfield players. I don't like these numbers 6, 8, and 10. I'm an old school person, right? Don't like it. Holding midfield players, and he did excellently there as well. Actually, Bergvall. He really did. So to help Bentancur out, and Bentancur was superb as well. I've listed 5 players for you to pick man of the match. If I've missed anyone out, let me know later. But that will come later. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. And I think that was crucial as well. We needed that pivot in front of Romero and VDV, who were both excellent as well.
Drew, can I add to that? Because I thought I mean, Benton. There's lots of contenders for man of the match, but Adrian will know on the shows I've done, and I've said, I think when Bentancur plays well, we play well. There seems to me to be a direct correlation between the quality of his performances and the quality of Tottenham performances and the quality and the wins that we get. Bergvall is 19 years of age, and it's not just what he did with the ball. I just thought his positioning, his covering, his awareness for a 19-year-old was exceptional. And I agree. I mean, we all criticise Ange, and some of the criticism he's brought on himself, and I say that, as an Ange fan. But, I mean, he got his tactics absolutely spot on. And when he had the double pivot there, and then he brought, it's almost like the Herbert Chapman Arsenal philosophy from the 1930s, what we've got, we hold. And he brought on Danso and 5 at the back. That sounds more Welsh than Australian, but I just thought the whole that everybody when you're going to win away in a big European game like that, everybody has to play their part, from the manager, the coaches, the players, the subs, everybody, and we got it down to a T.
Absolutely. I guess my counter to what you say about Bentancur, because I know exactly what you mean. My problem with Bentancur is that when he plays well and he's a 9 out of 10, he's phenomenal. But when he's not, he's not a 7 out of 10. He's a 4 or a 5 out of 10.
Right. And if you look at those performances, Steve, you'll find those performances, and you'll look at our poor defeats. It's just something I picked up.
Yeah.
No, but it's also those. He came from a club in. Sorry, just to finish the point, he came from a club in Juventus where, when he dropped, he had more players around him that were able to pick up his slack, and it wasn't noticed as much. We don't have the reliability of people around him to be able to soak up the slack when he's not absolutely on it. And just my final point before Steve, I'll let you finish this point, or I'll let you come in on it. These are top-level professional footballers, and I just expect, at the very least, as a 3 in midfield, there just has to be. I know we're dealing with formations, and we're dealing with how to do this and how to do that. But as a midfield 3, at the very least, I would expect a decision you should be able to make is, we are under the cosh. I need 2 people to sit and 1 to sit in front of us and just hold this down for a minute. Or the flip side of that being, I'm there, as the 6, I'm having quite a relaxing day. Why don't you go up front and just cause a little bit more? And if I need you to come back and sit for a bit, then we'll do that. And I just think, I guess there seems to be a little bit more of that. Whereas recently we've conceded so many goals in the transition, Steve, because I think exactly that. So the people in midfield don't really know where they are, what they should be. And I guess it's testament to the fact that the last 3 or 4 games, these 3 have been pretty consistent, played together. And I guess, Steve, you're starting to see the consequence of that, right?
Well, here's the thing, right? And his bad play coincided when our starting 11 had 8 guys out with injury, and the guys that were playing were either not good enough to play at this level, or they hadn't played together, so they don't, they can't understand their own movements on the field, right? And it's okay to say this, right? Rodrigo Betancourt is not a leader, and that's perfectly fine, because he was brought in not to be a leader. And I never understood the argument of how come he can't pick up the game by the scruff of the neck. Well, he's not that type of player. And it's no coincidence that as soon as you would get Romero and Van de Ven playing back behind him, and Kulusevski and Madison playing in front of him, that he's free to actually play his game, where he can actually be comfortable on the pitch and have his passes break lines, and he can get forward and be a disruptor in the attack as well too. And it's, like when I saw his performance last night, it's like it didn't necessarily shock me, because quite frankly, he's better. He's a better player when he has better players playing around him.
I think that's true pretty much for most players.
I'll give you a good example. And I know this might be cherry picking some, but a guy like Harry Kane, who was an absolute killer. He's an absolute leader, and he's a guy that's dependable, whether you're one goal ahead or one goal behind. You can count on his leadership to keep everybody organized. Or a guy like Hugo Lloris, who did the exact same thing from the goal. Those guys are leaders, right? But then you have a guy like Rodrigo Betancourt, who is not that. He's just not that type of mindset. He just wants to go out there and play free and easy. And when you have guys around him who are either not good enough to play at that level, or they're they're Ben Davis and Archie Gray playing playing center back positions or playing out of position that don't necessarily understand the tactics of playing that position, and you're asking him to be something that he's not, he's going to struggle. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. My take on it simple. It's like I agree with what Ian and the others have said. When Betancourt doesn't play well, we crumble, and that's because. But now I think the other midfielders have wised up. Betancourt knows I've got to come back and help out. And I think he'll have learned for a 19-year-old. He's learning fast anyway, he's had to in this team. And, so that's it. I mean, this is why I like Betancourt as a player. Others have said that we will be happy as he goes. Because our midfield has been pants this season. But now we're seeing signs of a blend there, aren't we? A bit of cohesion. And like you've alluded to, Drew. So, look. Sometimes you have to help out, and actually it was crucial. Them two in front, Romero and VDV, was crucial to us getting through that game and winning it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll just wrap up the minute by minute real quick, and then we'll get into a couple of other bits, because we had 75 minutes. I think we touched on it, the Vicario save, and he did towards the end. I mean, he wasn't asked to do much, but when he was asked, he absolutely, followed through, which is a far cry from obviously the Wolves performance, where I think obviously we're all aware he dropped a little bit of a turd. Betancourt book, thankfully. Yellow cards are all wiped out now after the quarterfinals, right? As my understanding. Correct me in the chat if anyone is. But I think
got a banner up on that because the words were going out, and I like to kill it. Once I find a fact, I like to kill it.
Right, absolutely.
None of our players are suspended for this home leg against Bodo Glimt. Okay, none of them. There was rumours that Betancourt was. He's not. He's playing, and so he'll play.
So then 79 minutes and 85 minutes, we had a double substitution. And I'd come to you, Ian, because everything that I was listening to and everything that I was watching, everyone was saying, where are the substitutions? Where are the substitutions? What is going on? And then all of a sudden, 79, 85 minutes, Ange appeared to shut up shop and go 5-3-2, which I've never seen. I've not seen before. What's your takes on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that because we're all watching the game and probably thinking, does he change it? The problem is, Drew, you say it weren't broke, so what are you fixing? Mm-hmm. It was going well. Apart from that little spell around 75 minutes, they didn't look like hurting us. But you're going to need fresh legs. You're going to want to maybe change the tactics. And I think it's the latter part that I think was important, that he decided, because sometimes Ange is a bit gung-ho and he leaves space. And what did he do? He'd already got the two, the two pivots in Betancourt and Bergvall. So what does he do? He brings on Danso.
Great move.
To make it 3 at the back, plus 2 fullbacks or 2 wing backs, 5 at the back. And I think when you look at some of the chats we've had, how often have we said we need a pivot, we need something to protect the defence, or if he wants to get the fullbacks or the wing backs forward, play 3 at the back to give extra security and extra insurance. And he did both. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm just trying to think who he brought off now. It was
Danso for Johnson and Sarr for Tell.
And Tell. Tell had played really, really well, by the way. I thought, I'm sure, I don't know if you talked about him before, but I think Tell is maturing and learning our game and what have you. But they were really, really good substitutions. Yeah, okay, if they'd have scored and we'd have needed to change our formation, it might have been a bit more difficult, but then maybe you could have thrown Porro forward or whatever, or Kulusevski into a more advanced position. But I thought they were just such good substitutions. Sarr yeah, he sometimes frustrates. But one thing he's got great legs and he's got a great engine. Bringing off Johnson and bringing on
Danzo.
Hmm?
Danzo.
And so
bringing on Danso. Sorry, I talked about that earlier, and giving us an extra centre half. I just thought it was just all perfect. And
yeah,
for all of us that have got criticism of Ange, and he's entitled to take some stick, that he doesn't vary his tactics, he doesn't learn, he doesn't adapt within a game. I mean, he did it all in one game. The bottom
Well,
line is-
apparently there were rumours. I don't know if anyone else heard it on the feed that I was listening to. There were rumours that a small section of the crowd were chanting, "You know what you're doing."
that's funny. That's funny.
So we'll
it.
finish off. Apparently he didn't cup his ear though, so that was a surprise. But yeah, 90th plus 7. Sorry, I do.
Drew, while you're talking,
Yeah, I mean,
it wouldn't be a battling performance without Romero doing this, would it?
yeah, I mean, it was a beautiful stroke of genius too, because I remember at the time thinking to myself, I never thought in a million years I'd ever see Ange go to a back five, and I would probably assume that Frankfurt wasn't expecting to see 10 men behind the ball with an Ange Postecoglou, formation. So that to me that was a stroke of brilliance. That just kind of made me smile at the time too, because for all the stick at that.
It blocks the wings off, doesn't it? It blocks the wings off when you do that.
Yeah,
you block the wings off. They've got to try and come through the middle, and they ain't getting through the four because you got Bentancur.
That's exactly right.
Bentancur and Bergvall, and then behind him you got VDV and Romero. I thought it was excellent tactic.
Because the whole
game,
we are who we are, mate. The whole we are who we are, and it's like, oh, okay, so now all of a sudden we're parking the bus here. So I actually quite enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's 82 of you viewing us, guys. If some of you could subscribe to the channel, that would be wonderful. And leave a comment, and that would be fantastic for us. It'd help the show grow. Some of you, 85 of you listening or watching now. Okay, go on, Drew. Sorry.
Oh no, you're good, mate. You're good. I just want to say just a quick run through on the chat room, everyone. I just wanted to say hello quickly. Destiny 5 in here, Ryan G, Paul G, Nita. We've got Spurs GCTV, who we said hello to earlier. Jose, folk off, to you too, my friend. So yeah, just regulars and Reese Rig in here. So I just wanted to make sure we obviously say hello to those guys, and then obviously the people watching on Twitter. We will finish with I think we touched on the game management, obviously, with the substitutions, and I do just think it's funny. I feel a few weeks ago, I feel like if we'd been in the same boat and he'd left substitutions this long, it would have been a case of you don't know what you're doing. But in this instance, it just happens to be a stroke of genius. This week, all I've seen on social media is that we've lost the same amount of games in one season as Postecoglou, Pochettino did in 3. And then as soon as this happens, I wake up this morning to another Postecoglou Pochettino, but this time these were the last 2 coaches to get us to European semi-final. So it's just funny how the tide changes when it comes to things like that, and how quickly the narrative can swing. But yeah, I don't want to dwell too much on the negative. I do just want to carry on. We'll touch on just who we thought the man of the match was. Who actually did get man of the match? Do we know?
Does it matter? I mean, it's our opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
well, no, I was just curious because I didn't happen to catch it, but I was just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I would give it to Bentancur, but what was so pleasing was to see that you doggies really got his mojo back. It was an outlet.
And please, everybody in the chat, put down who you thought, who you thought might have been your man of the match. But sorry, Adrian, to cut across you. I do think Udogie really did come back into it, right? That's all right. I mean, Udogie really did have a good game, eh?
Look, I expect Romero to do what Romero does. He's a World Cup winner and 2 Copa America winners, yeah? So, I mean, and he was superb. The rash challenge, it wouldn't have been a game without Romero putting one in. And he hasn't got many bookings this season at all, not even in the league. And I think that's because we do when we
Well,
do
because he
push
hasn't
up,
played
we've
in the
got
league,
players-
but you know.
yeah, and he's been injured a lot as well. Some people thought VDV. He made important sliding tackle in the 16th minute, didn't he? And then he's made he made a good couple of challengings there. I like wouldn't have given it to him on that. I mean, to me, it was down to Bentancur and Udogie. I'm a big fan of Udogie, who, in my opinion, has been piss poor this season, right? I mean, he was injury, didn't have a proper season to the injury, and he never quite found his mojo. I've seen it in the last game, and this one, like, I've just seen signs of him coming back, and when he gets it back, he is a tank. And you play him instead of Spence on there because he is a tank. And I still think he could go and be one of the best left-sided defenders on the planet, I think. And for those that think he might be going to Man City, yeah, well, you can go and do one because he only recently signed a new contract to 2030, right? He's going nowhere. But we're going to get all this paper talk because it's not a done thing. We've won this. If we win this competition, it gives us a great boost for bringing players in because we'd be in the Champions League. If we don't, you know, the summer transfer, all the Spurs hating media out there, and there's a viper's nest of them, right? They're going to be trying to sell every player we've got, right? So you can expect all that crap to come from the media because they're full of crap. They're most Spurs haters anyway, and they're full of crap. Anyway, that's just my biased Spurs fan.
Ian, let me ask you this. It's just a follow-up to Udogie, right? Because are we... I know this is kind of two-part question, or just something I just wanted to mention as well. Are we guilty of just putting too much on young players? I mean, the guy didn't have a pre-season. He came back. He was asked to do maybe a little bit more than really he should have been. And now we're finally getting to the crux of the end of the season. He's finally starting to show a little bit of form. And just to reinforce that, I hear a lot of people, and we know Brendan Johnson gets a lot of crap. And always, and I think probably just because of the Welsh connection as well, always seems to get compared with Gareth Bale. But I think the problem is that people compare a 22, 23-year-old Brendan Johnson to a career Gareth Bale. And if you actually took away and actually stripped down and looked at 23-year-old Brendan Johnson and his career and 23-year-old Gareth Bale in his career, there's actually more parallels and similarities than there are differences. Now, I'm not suggesting, please chat, not suggesting for 1 second that Brendan Johnson has the minerals to become like Gareth Bale, but I do, just from perspective point of view and just kind of looking at a bigger picture here, you know, I do think we are just guilty of looking at somebody's career and then looking at somebody in the fledgling of their career and going, he's not as good as he was. And I just don't think it's a fair comparison.
And I think Brendan Johnson, for me, and I've said this for a year, his problem is he's got to believe he's good enough. Because I can tell him, you can tell him, the coaches can tell him, his dad can tell him. His dad was a more than decent player. He has to believe he's good enough to play at the very highest levels domestically. I mean, okay, if he wasn't Welsh, maybe he wouldn't be an England international. But he has to believe. If he believes he's good enough, he can be good enough because his numbers are all there. That's the reality.
Well, especially if you go from last season to this season, and let's just kind of just hypothesize and just play a game where we're at the end of next season, and he's got, and you know, this could I could be absolutely muddied, and I'm fine with that. But I just like to play the game, right? Let's just say we get to the end of next season, and all of a sudden he's got 3 or 4 more goals and maybe say half a dozen assists. I mean, he just needs to carry on doing that. And if he does, I mean, is there kind of I'm not one for saying people need to start apologizing and that, but do we need to maybe, I mean, I guess maybe he's got a lot to do before we start changing perspectives. But, you know, there's the potential for that narrative to take place, right? Do we just need maybe a little bit more patience with these youngsters?
Well, I think so, and I think there's there's so many parts of that question, or so many implications of it. And one of the things is, of course, modern society, social media. I mean, Adrian, in our day, player would have a game. You'd maybe have a discussion about it on the bus going to school or work or in the pub after the game, and that would be the end of it. Now you've got 100 Spurs streams and Spurs YouTube, WhatsApp groups, etc., etc. So everything is analysed.
Most of the games weren't televised, then, were they? You'd look when you turned up the ground. Most of the games weren't televised. You'd turn up the ground and see if the match of the day cameras were there or the big match cameras were there. So you had to be at the game to talk about the game.
And if you were in the West Stand, you didn't know until you got into the ground if there was cameras above
On
the
stand,
in the East Stand. And if you were going round the corner into the boys' enclosure or whatever, then you'd see the television cameras. Or the television, the what do you call them? The vans and what have you. Otherwise, and that's it. There were games that were played.
Yeah, I think the problem with I've warmed to Johnson. He's got 16 goals and 3 assists, 9 in the league, top league goal scorer in all comps. Last year, he only got 5. I have the same issue with him as David Harris has with our forwards as well, right? Apart from Son when he's on point, the others, even Solanke, rumoured 55 to 65 million. I mean, those who want to complain about the club, I'll always propose the dearer price than others. I don't think Solanke was 65 million. I think it's more like 50, 55 of add-ons. But for that sort of money, he should be an oven-ready, more proven striker. But to me, Solanke, is he a first-team starter? No, he's not. He's a squad player. Is Johnson, even with his goals, a first-team starter? No, he's not. He's a squad player. Is Tell? He's looking good. He's looking quality now. He's got to do more to prove it to us. He's a squad player. So, where are our forwards that walk straight into that front line? We've only got Son on point, and we don't know. We're not sure if he's done yet because he's had injuries. And I believe he had that hernia operation before last season. He come back, didn't quite look right.
Yep.
He's come back, and he's played with knocks. I mean, for Christ's sake, he played at Villa with a broken arm and scored the winning goal, didn't he? When he broke his arm. I mean, so he's got to dig in there. So my issue with our front three is bring someone who's an oven-ready, proven player who you think, right. Before we had Kane, he was the starter. No matter who you brought in, he would start in front of any 9, even though Kane played the 9-10.
Adrian, Solanke was oven-ready. People can argue about
he's oven-ready.
But
and we've been getting it recently, especially we won yesterday and he scored the goal and he needed that goal. And I'm glad that Coglu was on the line repeatedly mouthing it, tell Dom, I want Dom to take the goal, take it, right? Because he needed that goal. And we've done well it was like the penalty the other day, which Tell took, when Johnson was on a hat-trick. They were good decisions. I mean, Maddison had gone off, so he wasn't going to take the penalty. Otherwise, Maddison probably wouldn't have let go of that ball for nothing, right? And then him and Richarlison would have had to decide who's taking the penalty. And then they might have seen what's name. But that's the problem with our front line. We've looked at Ian, the strikers we've seen at this club, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't get in a league with any of them, virtually. I ain't knocking him. He does a good job in the modern game. He does a good job.
Adrian, can I go back to the question that Drew put to me, though? Because I think we've got a little bit away. Yeah, I think we do rely a little bit too much on some of the younger players. But when you look at, for example, what Bergval's doing, when you look at what Udogie's going, it may just be worth our while being patient for a bit. But one of the other points I wanted to make is that Johnson isn't a natural right winger. He's more an old style inside forward. Yeah. Now, and this is where I think we need to see that Ange can and will adapt. I mean, let's say he goes, I like the idea of 3 at the back. I like the idea because I think it then gives those wing backs, whether it's Udogie, Porro or Spence or whatever, more license to go forward, knowing that there's that insurance policy behind them in the 3 centre backs. If you've got Bentancur and Bergval there, and another Kulusevski or Maddison, you've got the creativity. And then if you play Johnson alongside Solanke, as the sort of the Gilzeed or the alongside the Chivers or the Keegan alongside the Toshak, if you're old enough to know. I think that could actually work really well, and that's where I think we need to see from Ange that tactical fluidity rather than this rigid 4-3-3 he seems to demand playing. When he changed it yesterday, I mean, there was a comment from somebody in the chat there that if you think we improved after the changes, you're lying. Well, I'm not sure who said that, but the bottom line is they never laid a glove on us after the changes. They just never came close.
Yeah.
My issue.
Well, hang on, Adrian. Sorry, because I'm just conscious of all the other guys wanting to chat. Steve, I just bring you in. What are your thoughts on what we've been discussing?
Yeah. To Ian's point, I will say that I do like Brendan Johnson as a player. I think his profile is actually pretty good, and he actually can develop. Let's just understand that different players develop at different rates, especially from position by position. And to your point, Ian, I think you bring up a very good one. His people can tell him that he's a good player. His coaches, his teammates can tell him he's a good player. But one of the things that help that you can produce at this level is scoring goals at a high clip. And it's one thing to do it against your Ipswiches or your Southamptons or your Leicester Cities or your Evertons, teams that don't have quality defenses, and doing it against Man City, doing it against Liverpool, Arsenal, and teams that actually have top flight defenses to be able to skin your defender and put one in the box, or cut in on your left foot and put one on net and put it in the back of the ball. Those little things are going to give players confidence. And right now, it's like Brendan Johnson doesn't necessarily have that top level confidence. Now, that's not to say that he can't. I think his ceiling is actually quite enormous. And I still think his development, I think he's still developing, getting to that point where he can be quality. But that being said, one of the things that I keep saying is I think that his development has stagnated because every single week there's no competition for him on that right side. So every single match day, he knows he's going to be involved with it in some form or fashion. Now, whether he thinks himself maybe as a finished product, I don't know. Like that's going to come from internal mechanisms within inside the club to remind him that he still has work to do on himself. Right? It's I guess it's the old cliche thing of showing up early and being the last one to leave. There has to, then that's what it comes from. That's what comes from the coaching staff and having that motivation of keeping players hungry and keeping players focused. And that's something that we just don't know right now with a guy like Brendan Johnson. Whereas you see it with Bergvall, every single week, that dude looks better every single week.
Absolutely.
Right. And so the question is does Ange make players better? Well, obviously, because you look at a guy like Lucas Bergvall and you can clearly see that guy getting better. Whereas Brendan Johnson, we're seeing some form of stagnation. So it's going to take time, but it's also going to take the right mindset and also competition to let him know that he can't be comfortable.
Spence got better as well, Steve, as you doggy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Same with Archie Gray.
Well, we'll move over to. We'll just touch on the stats. I mean, usually we're the ones with the possession, but it's usually sideways. I say usually. It has been. Circumstances have dictated that it's been sideways or not too much in the recent past. But I feel like, and as I mentioned earlier, like I don't want to. I'm not going to go overboard. Not going to go crazy. I don't think we're back. This isn't a turning point. I think we did what was required of us. I think it was a very good performance under the circumstances. And for me personally, there are green shoots of optimism that tell me potentially there is just a little bit more to this team than we have seen this year. And unfortunately, the luck's just gone against us. But we'll run through the stats quickly for anyone that just can't see the screen. We had 61% possession to our 39. They have 5 shots to our 3, total 14 to 12. Fouls 7 to 9. Block shots 5 to 3. Corners 8 to 7. Clearances 21 to 53.
Yeah, these next 2 stats are the ones that kill it.
Yeah,
do it.
interceptions 6 to 16. And then total passes, we have 535 to their 351. Accuracy 71% to 77. But we had 32 crosses to their 16. So
they had 32 to
they had 32 to our 16 rather.
The key are the
so
clearances and the interceptions here, though. The
yeah, go on.
21
Go on. Take that, Adrian. Say what you wanted to say about that.
Yeah, the clearances, the 21 to 53. I mean, we dug in here, and the interceptions as well. And them interceptions, we got some threatening breaks from the interceptions.
Right. And you're expected to, right? This is let's remind
Yeah.
everybody. This is an away game in Europe, right? So
Yep.
that's the sort of performance you need
Yep.
to be able to get through. Right?
In a stadium, in a stadium where they rarely lose, and I think they had not scored a goal in their home stadium in 21 straight matches. So it's not an easy place to do that.
Yeah.
And their fans were intimidating us. If you saw on the corners, they were throwing all kinds of stuff at our players, and I'm surprised. I'm surprised the refs didn't.
We do it at our stadium when we do a TIFO. We do it as well.
Oh, do you? I don't notice it. That's something. Maybe it was just because it was the cups they were throwing were dark colored, so it's easier to see, perhaps. But yeah, they were throwing ice. They were throwing all kinds of stuff at our guys.
Yeah,
I thought I saw a couple of golf balls end up on the field. I didn't know if that was wadded up paper or golf balls. I was like, good Lord.
Yeah.
The Masters was last weekend, wasn't it?
He said he picked up 17 pound coins from the gold mouth and still left some. It was being thrown. Like, so, yeah. But
it was interesting to see, especially the five at the back. You know, I guess I remember when I saw Danzo coming on, I thought, oh, are they going to take Romero or VVV off? But no, they didn't. They just added him to the back. It's surprising when I try to put myself in Andrew's shoes. If I was Ange and my career is on the line, because I've made some lofty statements in the past about always winning in my second year, and you know, people have certain, so I have expectations for myself. The fans have certain I've created certain expectations. To just change up your system like that to something we've never seen before is pretty out of the box thinking. So I was kind of, I was happy to see it because we've been clamoring for out of the box thinking for a while and we hadn't been getting it. So it seems like Ange, when push comes to shove, Ange is willing to really make the decision to change things up. Where we said he was so hard-headed, now we know he's maybe not so hard-headed when push comes to shove.
Steve, we didn't finish this, so we do go off on tangents, but it's good fun for Drew. Who was your man of the match? Give us your man of the match. Did they do it? Drew did. So
So yesterday, right after the match, I was kind of leaning in the Vicario direction, but now that I've actually had time to actually sit and think about it, I think my man of the match was Mickey van de Ven. Now, it goes to say that I have a healthy romance with Dutch center backs. I don't know what it is about the Dutch, man. They produce good food and good center backs. But one of the things that really impressed me was just his ability to close down. And we saw it in the first leg with Ekatike and his ability, not only to run past defenders, but put himself in advantageous positions. And last night, that ball over the top was perfect as he attacked the channel right down the center of the pitch. And Mickey van de Ven, without a moment's notice, closes it down and essentially saves the game for Spurs. With what is to me top end speed and just his positioning and his pacing to put a slide tackle in the box, do it in a way that not only does not create a penalty but also redirects the ball out of bounds. And to me that was world class. And I just loved his attitude last night. He was in all the right places, made all the right moves, and for me, it's Mikey van de Ven, 100%. Gotta love Dutch center backs.
Alan?
Oh my gosh. I think my man of the match was Bergvall. He's, as a 19-year-old, he gets better and better, and he's like the steal of the season, right? Because we paid so little for him, and all these teams are on other channels. I listen to other teams' channels, and they all say the same thing about Bergvall. It's like, where the hell did this guy come from? How come we didn't scout him? How come we didn't pick him up? So to me, he's all over the place. I always refer to him like a golden retriever, a puppy. You know, he's like very up and wired and kind of all over the place. But Bergvall for me was man of the match. Just ahead of Bentancur.
I'm going Bentancur. Ian.
Ian?
Yeah, I'm in the Bentancur camp for reasons I've already said. I just think when he plays well, the whole team seems to play well. He doesn't give the ball away. He's economical with it. I wonder how many of those interceptions were from him. How many of those tackles were from him? But isn't the big point, guys, and in the chat, the fact that we're talking about 4 or 5 players that are contenders for man of the match, and you
it's a
don't
good
look
thing.
at you don't look around your fellow panelists and go, what is he talking about? Everyone has got a solid argument for the player.
It's a good problem.
It's a good problem to have.
A lot of fabulous Udogi you can make a case for, Van der Ven, Bentancur, Bergvall, Romero, even some people have said. I've just thought it was a phenomenal performance. And I was so proud last night. I actually said to my partner, it's a long, long time since I've actually been up hooping and hollering when we're scoring and what have you. It's been that kind of season. But last night took me back. It took me back to some, going back almost to 2019. And there were so many performances that made it phenomenal. Absolutely.
Why can't we do it more consistently?
Before Drew gives us his man of the match, we go back to Drew. Just want to thank the 92 of you I've seen viewing us. If you could please subscribe to the channel, it would help the algorithm normally, and we bring out good content to you, and we pride ourselves in being a mature and sensible, fact-based group. Drew likes his stats. I like my stats. I know Alan does. I know Steve does on his show, and Ian does as well.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to you, Drew. Go on.
No, I'm just thinking. Can I just come in there?
Yeah, absolutely.
With Alan saying about why can't we do it? Adrian will know the number of Sundays I've hosted a show where it's just been depression after depression. I did a show. Adrian was in the chat. I did a show that Scarfy had asked me to go on earlier in the day, and it was just such a pleasure to be on it. It's a pleasure to be on
he's an excellent
tonight
host.
as well.
He's an excellent host.
What a difference! What a difference a performance makes.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're jealous of Drew because he gets to host a win here.
I know. I mean, it's been and such an important win as well. It's such an important win. It's crazy.
You might be a lucky charm.
Yeah.
We might have to wrap you in cotton wool like Sonny, Drew.
Yeah.
Drag you out.
I would love to.
My ex-wife would call me many things, but lucky charm is not
one of them. I'd love to know what Ange told the guys to get them up like that. What was?
Let me ask because you touched on something I wanted to ask Steve. Actually, have we? And I think if you strip away all the crap and everything that's happened and all the kind of I guess my opinion, all the little things that have been blown out of proportion potentially because the season has been as bad as it is. Get away from the crap. Ange said something that I think has maybe triggered the scenario over the last couple of months, and that was he said when everybody came back and everybody got fit, you would see a different Tottenham. And my argument or my retort to that would be, yes, I think we are starting to see it, but man, didn't it take a little bit longer than we expected it to? Like, I think even I think I'm guilty of, in this instance, certainly maybe not having enough patience or not being aware of just how long it was going to take. I said I thought it was going to take a minute. I said not everyone was going to come back match fit. It would take a couple of games. But I really started. I was expecting to see this 3 or 4 games ago, and I think it's only now. And even with the performance against Wolves, I think that's maybe an anomaly. I think everybody was a little bit horrendous. I think everybody maybe had this game in the back of their mind. But is it, Steve? Have we seen enough? Maybe just even in last night's performance, is there enough there for you to believe that we can make something of the end of this season? I don't know what that something is, even if it's just a final and actually like a string of really strong performances. Take maybe, take even maybe if it's a really good 3-2 loss, or we just, is that acceptable, or does there have to be change? Have you seen enough? Have you seen enough to let you believe that something can happen? I guess.
Well, we're gonna find out on Monday, right? So
Right.
the problem with yesterday's match was Spurs let the cat out of the bag. They showed everybody how good they can be if everybody was moving in the same direction and they were playing for each other. And so now they set their own expectation level with that play last night. And now unfortunately, and whether this is fair or not, Spurs fans saw that last night and said, "Whoa, okay, so these guys are good." I mean, I've known for a good year and a half now just exactly the type of pieces that Spurs have and what they're capable of, and we've seen it a few times, but just not consistently. And you're right. I do believe that Wolves game was an anomaly. But here's the thing, right? If they come out against Nottingham Forest and play like they did against Wolves, would it surprise you? Would that type of effort surprise you, considering everything that's gone on? So me personally, it's like before I will ever say that Spurs have turned a corner, we're going to have to see a repeat performance of this match, because now you know exactly what they're capable of and what they can do. And just imagine actually if they do kind of get into an attacking groove and actually get back to the principles of handball, you're going to start seeing this team actually put it on people. That's what the capability is. But now the baseline effort has been put out there. And so that actually, if anything, that energy and that focus has to be a carryover effect, or unfortunately, it's just not going to be acceptable. Anything less than what we saw last night will not be acceptable.
Well, let me put this out there as well, because this obviously just a continuation to that, because I guess two things can be true, right? I would like to hope that, because the great teams, right, the really, really good teams have the ability to battle on more than one front. I would like to think that if another front was available for us to be battling on, then we would be. If we were in another cup, or if we were there or thereabouts at the top of the league rather than at the bottom, Ian or Adrian, I'll ask you to come in. The hope would be that we would be battling. So is it just simply the fact that we can't do anything in the league, that it's acceptable that they could take their foot off the gas, or do we just need? No,
I think that there's two factors. One, you can't rule out the fact that we've had this number of injuries, long-term injuries, which are bound to have disrupted the side. And then secondly, you've got the issue that we've got a lot of, which we've talked about tonight, a lot of very young players. And young players, by their very definition, are inexperienced and will make mistakes that perhaps older, more mature players won't make as often. I think this end of season stay question is an interesting one, because a lot of people, I've even heard on social media that, or read on social media, that even if Ange wins the Europa League, he should still go, which I find an absurd idea. I mean, I must be honest, given the complaints from fans that, we've got this, we've got that, Levy's done this, Levy's got that, and he's not won anything. So then we go and win the second biggest European, there's not three anymore, but yeah, there are three. The second biggest European competition, and we're going to sack the manager when we've been starved of trophies for so many years. I mean, to my mind, that's just absolutely absurd. I mean, at least you give Ange the opportunity to start next season and see if we can get some improvement in the league form over a over a period. I just can't get my head around the idea you're going to win the Europa League and sack the manager. The other thing is I am uninspired totally by
100%.
the idea of Irola or Silva
100%.
or Glasner.
100%.
None of them. This is to my mind. I mean, I think it may have been Nita who said in the chat, Levy doesn't have a plan. And I agree with this. The club doesn't have a plan. Levy, for all his brilliance, his intellect and his business acumen, has never had, in my mind, a long-term vision and coherent plan for the running of the club. And it would be typical of the way we do things that this year's model, this year's fashion statement is Silva, or particularly Irola. I mean, it would, of course, if we hadn't already tried and failed with him, it would, of course, be Nuno. Nuno would be the only name in the frame if it hadn't been for the fact he'd been our manager before. Glasner, his teams have got mashed in the last couple of games. I just don't see that what they have is any better than what we've got at the moment.
Let me just flip that. I mean, could any of us blame Ange if he did win it and said, you know what, you lot are too much. See ya.
Me and Ian spoke about this on the phone about there has to be a compensation packet agreed, a non-disclosure part of that package would be you say nothing,
but that's. From a business point, you would expect that to be the case. But I'm talking from a purely footballing standpoint. Because let's face it, there's been a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of people, especially over the last couple of weeks, that have said vile things. They've called him names. I mean, we have, as a fan base, just gotten a little bit out of control. Like the vitriol has been awful. So can any of us really blame him if he were to turn around? Let's just say he does the unthinkable, the remarkable. We end up picking up that trophy and he goes, do you know what? Mic drop. I did actually what I said I'd come here to do. I've won in my second season. And you know what? I'm kind of just done with you lot. Like you're a bit.
Would you guys what Ian said right earlier, and to add this point, because we reached a position in the league, a tipping point, whereby we weren't going to get top 5 because we're going to get 5 places now due to the coefficient. We're not really going to get Europa League next year, so we're not getting European football unless we actually win this competition, which I think we're going to win, believe it or not. But to add to what Ian said, the other thing the fans expected, once we'd gone past that point, nothing we did now to the end of the season was going to improve our league that much for fans to get excited about. And the thing that struck with me was, okay, they said, and they were piling more pressure on saying like, well, now you've got all your players back, right? You've got no excuses. But hang about, me and Ian know that back in the day, it might take 5 or 6 games for these players to get back into their stride. And you've half alluded to it there, Drew, as well, right? So you've got that, and then that is compounded with the problem of the fact that we've had a disjointed team, lack of belief and confidence in that side as well. And we're only just now seeing a sort of midfield 3 that sort of gels together. So the more there was all this, there's intense pressures been piled on. It's relieved because we're in the semi-final of this cup and we'll probably win it. I think we'll win it, right? But this is the thing nowadays, it's the complete lack of patience with the fan base. And the media are a lot to blame for this. Because Ian will tell you, like, back in the days, if you lost to Arsenal, you lost, right? Well, you didn't have all this media attention, pre-match media hype, post-match media hype, putting pressure on, actually stirring up hatred. And the media always tell me,
that's what sells, right? That's what sells.
It's everything to do with them fucking cunts. It's everything to do with them.
Adrian, I'm going back to Drew's question, I'm going, hang on a minute, 1984, you were there, I was there. We win the UEFA Cup and one of the best nights of both of our Spurs lives. Keith Birkinshaw leaves the club saying there used to be a football club over there. And then are we going to seriously have to win our first European trophy in 41 years and the manager again walking out saying, you know what, I don't need your shit? I mean, how toxic is that?
I mean, I personally, Steve,
Well,
I'll let you come in after this. I personally, just to whatever my 2 cents is worth, I don't think he will, because I think the numbers and everything now is just too great. And I don't think he would shoot himself in the foot and not give himself the option of managing Tottenham Hotspur in the Champions League. Because obviously, if we win it, that's exactly what happens. But I just, do you think, Steve, I mean, if we do, if buts, maybes, you think winning it just gives everybody a chance to reset, step back, and just maybe all start pulling in the one direction? Or do you think there's, regardless of whether he wins it or not, there's gonna be a large element that still want him gone? And is that going to impact us going forward, just from an atmosphere point of view?
I would hope not, but to double down on what Ian was just saying, can you imagine the respect loss for Ange Postecoglou if he won a trophy and then quit? Considering every press conference that he has, he talks about the passion and love that he has for the cockerel and the ultimate challenge of what it takes to win trophies here at Tottenham Hotspur, and the challenge is that that's what he wakes up every morning to do, and then all of a sudden, just at the, even winning a trophy and with all the adversity that he's had this season, he's just going to turn around and quit. I would have no respect for him. But, to Ian's point, though, when you look at these names that are at the bottom of the screen here, which one of these coaches actually fit Tottenham Hotspur? Which one of them actually, would you say, well, yeah, that actually kind of fits the players that are in here, and this is actually a good move moving forward. Whereas after the 2026 World Cup, you actually have better names that are going to be available that actually will fit the culture of Tottenham Hotspur. But, to your question, though, I think it would silence. I think a trophy definitely silences the haters, right? That's the ultimate mic drop is silencing the doubters, right? Now, whether or not that actually makes people move in one direction, I would actually ask the question: do his detractors, do his haters double down on it, even if he wins a trophy?
You think it's one of those things where he wins it, or we won it in spite of him rather than because of him?
Correct.
Anyone else want to jump in? Alan, I've not heard from you for a minute.
Yeah, I think there's too much water under the bridge for Postecoglou. I think he's a very emotional, deep down, I think he's a very emotional person. Most of us are, but I think he is as well. I think it would be.
You think
it's kind of like
he's been too? I mean, there's an argument that he's been too emotional, right? There's an argument that for the money that he gets paid, he should just turn the other cheek and just get on with it, and should not be,
I mean, I understand he's very passionate about the game, and he's very passionate about the way he feels about how the game should be played. But if they were to win the Europa League, he would be leaving on a high. Sometimes it's kind of like quitting a job. Sometimes you want to move from job to job while you're still employed. Maybe he's.
I guess there is that. Yeah, he does.
Yeah, maybe
leave on a high.
Kind of like leaving on a high. They'll create a statue for Saint Postecoglou for winning the Europa League, and then it'll always be there as a reminder.
Right. Let me ask you, Alan. What about? Do you think there's going to be an element of the fan base that, even if we win it, would want him or expect him to leave? Or
100%.
do you think winning that just turns the entire ship around and everybody gets on board? And that question
No.
That question's for the chat as well. Like, genuinely, if he wins it, does he win you over, or if he wins it, is that irrelevant? Because it would be. I genuinely would like to know. Because
No,
yeah, it's just interesting. Go on, sorry, carry on.
I don't think it can. I think the people that want him out, they look at 20 plus losses in a season, and it's just hard to stomach the season that we've had overall. The fact that everything is riding on Europa is a little disheartening, because I see how far down the table we are. And I just don't like how I don't want to be, 15th, 16th. I don't want to be there. It would be very Spursy of us to let go of the manager in the season they win.
Hang on.
I just got to shout this one out for everybody.
Yeah,
that's
that's
listening.
Faux pas.
Mr. Focop, you win message of the night, banner of the month. We seem to get the ideal players for manager systems the season after we fire the manager. Could you imagine? I mean, I was never a huge fan of Conte, but can you imagine Conte with
Brilliant.
a back five of Udogi / Porro, Van der Ven, Romero, Danzo, Porro / Spence, or whichever, any combination of that back five or a 3-4-3.
More importantly, Drew,
win.
if we win the competition, what us fans think we usually get ignored anyway. Is what does Champions League football do? Regards Ange's tenure with the board at the club, with Levy and the board, because you're gonna now have Champions League football, right? You're gonna be able to attract better players. Not that Levy wants to pay top money for better players, but you're going to do that. So, I mean, I think the question's more. I think Levy keeps him with possibly because he's got the option, isn't he? After the World Cup next season, Potts will want to come back.
Yeah.
Now, he knows he could heal a lot of wounds with his fan base if he brought right? Unless Potts screws up when he comes back. But
I think that the scenario is I can't see. I don't see.
Potts coming back.
I don't know. There's so many ways to cut this up. I don't see a scenario where if Ange wins it, Levy fires him for fear of firing the only manager we've had to win a legitimate cup in years. So the only way that I see Ange going is if Ange decides to walk. I don't see Ange walking because I don't see him turning away Champions League, as we've discussed.
Yes.
So,
although to be fair, if he wins the Europa League, his stock goes up, right? Because then he shows that he does win things in his second season, and then if he's a free agent, could you imagine the teams that would want him if he was a free agent coach? I'm sure there are teams that would go crazy for him.
Right. Look at the adversity he overcame to get that trophy in his second season, with everything that he's dealt with this season, to push that aside and still be able to hoist a trophy. But I agree with Adrian, right? I mean, it's like the allure of the Champions League next season, with the potential to work with a new director of football in Paratici that is actually going to work with him to bring in the players that are actually going to fit him, versus a dude like Johan Langer, who is probably actively working against him.
Well, I'll tell you what, you make a very, very interesting point there, because I know we're maybe potentially jumping the gun or going off on a tangent, because we have not won bollocks yet, and I'm very, very aware of that. So this is all hypothetical, but what I will say, because as you brought up a really interesting name, Paratici, and I think it all maybe hinges on Paratici and whether we think that Paratici and Ange can work together, or whether one of the things that maybe Paratici specifies is, hey, if I come back in, I want to bring in my own man. And if we know that Scott Munn is leaving in the summer and the new man Vinny's coming in, does he play a part in Paratici coming back. I mean, there are so many permutations. I think that's the word. Ian, I've not heard from you for a minute. How do you think this postseason's gonna? And we are going to touch on Bodo Glimt in a minute. But how do you think this end of season's going to pan out? I mean, there's so many ways that this could go, right?
I do think everything depends on Bodo, and let's assume Bilbao. I mean, we'll hope we're going to win it, but if it's Bilbao in an away game in a one-off, final, that's about as hard as it's going to get.
Yeah.
Nico
Especially if
Williams
they are
crying
playing
to
at
life
Liverpool.
out of me. But
I think we'd all rather have United and beat them 4 times in a season, wouldn't we? Yeah, but carry on.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think. I mean, from my
you don't want to harm
view,
a crowd, do you? You don't want to play Bilbao.
Hang on, sorry. I'm not. Adrian, are you talking there? Sorry.
No, sorry. Carry on, Ian. Sorry. That's me.
I mean, I am conflicted. I'm a big Ange man. Yeah, a lot of you know I'm a big Ange man, living in Scotland and watching Celtic up here. But by the same token, there's no getting away from, particularly this season, the results have been anything other than acceptable. But the other side of that coin is how often do you keep, wash, rinse, repeat, sack the manager? And as someone brilliantly said in the chat a few minutes ago, it's typical. What we end up with is the perfect players for the, for the manager that's just been sacked, but not right for the player, the manager that you've got. And that tends to happen time and time again if you're changing your manager every 18 months or so. If we get beat by Bodo, and that's another story, because that's a side we ought to have the beaten off, then I think and we finish 16th or 17th, then I think he will go, regardless. I think Levy will feel he has to make a change. But if he's to win this tournament, or even if he gets to the final, I think there's a case for saying, okay, let's give this another go. Yes, there's no European football, so you're back to 1 game a week. So again, does Levy say, oh, well, I don't need to invest that much money in the squad, or we'll give the youngsters a chance and whatever? And you almost feel like you're back to square one. I just can't help thinking winning this trophy would be a massive springboard for this club. Massive. And because of Champions League, because of the kudos, because it gets a monkey off the club's back. Yeah, it gets a monkey off Levy's back, but let's get real here. Unless Levy says yes to selling the club, or Lewis or the trust say yes to selling their shares in the club, it ain't happening. So we have to make it work as best we can. Whether Paratici would be more persuaded to come if we were in the Champions League, I don't know, possibly. Although, Inter seem to have a fantastic setup, and we're talking about Ngazi. I would think, why would he come to Tottenham, regardless, when Inter are doing so well and are going to be playing Champions League next season and might even win this year's? Why would he come? I don't know why he would come. So,
yeah, fair enough.
And this is the point. If you're going to get me another manager, who is it that's going to actually definitely be better? We've had Mourinho, we've had Conte, and it's all failed. As I said before, and I've got a lot of agreements. You're telling me Silva or Frank or Irola or Glasner. Are they an improvement? No, you tell me Southgate.
Well, I'll tell you what then. Well, let me put this out there and we'll read this out. Daniel 90 says, I failed to see how his stock improves in the Premier League if he finishes 17th in the Premier League with Tottenham but wins the Europa League in the Premier League. It's not stock improving.
I don't think it's necessarily his stock in the Premier League, just in general.
Let me just ask this quickly. If he fails to win if he fails to win the cup and he gets fired, and we get to the end of the season and we've got no manager, and with the current squad that we've got, are we arguably in the same position we were before we hired Pochettino from Southampton? Have we fallen Have we basically gone
Yeah.
from there all the way up the league and fallen all the way back down to where we were, 10 years ago?
No, the squad's better.
The squad's better, yeah.
It's underperforming, but we have a much better squad. We have failed better in the transfer window since 2019. It hasn't brought us footballing success, but the money that's come into the club has brought in a better quality of player. We've spent $1.027 billion on players, 700 million net, because don't forget we sold Kane for 100 million. We sold even Winks and Skip and Ericsson. We got good money for, in 6 months last of his contract and things like that. So no, this squad, without the horrendous injury list we had, and let's be fair, it was the key players, your two centre backs and your goalkeeper to start off with. I don't know any team that wouldn't have suffered to lose three of your best players like that, right? So you have that. So no, whoever comes in will inherit a good squad and some really exciting youngsters as well. Youngsters that have been added, academy youngsters that have been added to youngsters in the team, because I think we can field the youngest or the second youngest team in the league anyway. So no, I don't think we're back to square one. But the point is, there have been small increments where we stepped forward. We've failed better in the transfer window. In the last 3 or 4 transfer windows, we failed better. But there's still a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of work to be done to get this squad up to a level where it can compete in 4 competitions, which should be what a club like Tottenham Hotspur is doing, because we should be in Europe and we should be able to compete in the cups and be able to rotate and rest players and bring quality in. And you want out your 25, you got 11 on the pitch, you got 9 subs, but you can use 5, 2 concussion subs, 7. You want at least 18 quality players. Even Man City haven't got 25 because that's why they've struggled. But they've got a good core of 18 when everyone's fit, good enough to win the league 7 times, So, yeah, so you have that. But no, this is a better squad of players. There are others, and we're only just now seeing, after coming through this train crash of a season, we're just seeing some cohesion, some blend, and maybe a sign of. And it's not just that; it's confidence and belief returning as well. That win would have given us tremendous belief and confidence, and players are really up. They know what that means. You could see it in the aftermath, in the pictures and the drug tests on Bentancur and Bergvall.
Steve,
Berryville, actually, which is a real name.
Berryville. I guess that's technically, isn't it?
We're also in a better transfer market situation as well, too, considering we also have players that other teams would actually like that. It'll actually increase our transfer budget this upcoming summer as well, too. So it's night and day. I agree with Adrian. It's night and day better than where we were, prior to Posh coming through. 100%.
Okay.
I mean, you look at the squad. Look who went. Sissoko went. Oreo went.
Yep.
Dyer went. All right, did good jobs in midfield. She'd never moved into the back 4. You look at the players that we have shipped out. Even Skip and Winks went, but they were never going to take us forward, right? So you've got to look at the changes. And all right, we haven't got the results, so I get the critique. We've all, me, Ian, Drew, you, Steve, on your chat.
Do you think there's maybe an argument that we've got less? You think there's an argument we got less deadwood to get rid of, but we're in a situation where we need to get a bit more experience and a bit more quality in, which is maybe harder to do when you're in a situation where you don't have any Europe and you're classed essentially as a kind of a mid-table team currently.
Here's my angle. I'll put banners up for it later, actually, which you might come to, Drew. But my angle is this: the season's done, right? If we weren't going to European, if we weren't going to have European football next season, and so we only got 2 domestic cup competitions, where are you going to play these kids? When are you going to play them, right? So now we have an opportunity to rest Son. I mentioned I'll put a banner up about him as well. To rest Son and things like that, and give these kids more game time, no matter what the results are. Just in case, I mean, I think we're going to win the Europa League, but if we didn't, right, next season, we've just got league games and 2 domestic cups. When are these kids going to get game time? When's the new manager going to have the balls to risk. The only manager on that list I wanted was Xavi because he played 767 games for Barcelona. He brought Lamau into that team. He worked under constraints at Barcelona. There wasn't the money. They were going for that financial. They were trying to sort out their finances and stuff. Passionate guy. I mean, like I would. To me, he's the only one. The others, I'm like, yeah, they don't excite me. None of them on that list excite me. So like, apart from Xavi for me, and Poch in a year's time, I would take him back. But if things didn't work out, which is every chance of happening with this club, isn't it? Right? So,
Xavi's at Barcelona, isn't he?
no.
These Hansi
it's the
Flick
former
at Barcelona.
Yeah, Hansi Flick. Yeah.
He's gone.
No.
And
Right,
you
okay.
never know, Ancelotti might become available because now that Real Madrid are out,
Yep.
Real Madrid, they love changing the managers, don't they?
I
You know,
don't think
till we get-
Ancelotti don't fit. He needs oven
Really
ready.
get the
I
French
think.
guy back who won the World Cup. Oh.
I don't know if I'm doing Ancelotti a disservice, but I feel like he needs oven ready players. He's
And I don't
one of those
think
ones that
Ancelotti
comes
even
in
comes.
he's one of those ones that comes in and tweaks the final product. He's one of those ones. If he'd have come in when Mourinho came in, you might have got a tune out of him.
Poch wasn't the first choice; he was a gamble.
Mhm.
I'd rather gamble on an. What about?
It wasn't it. Hang on, this thing was a sliding doors moment, wasn't it? Wasn't it Louis van Gaal?
Yeah,
It was Louis van Gaal that turned us down, which is why we ended up going for Poch, I think, if memory serves.
Ten Hag, right, who won 2 trophies at Man United, who got a crap squad, right? I mean, that Ajax side that come to Spurs, I know we beat them in the second leg 3-2, and I mean, one of the most amazing footballing days you'll ever see, but games you'll ever see. Would even Ten Hag? I think Ten Hag is better than any of those. I really do. He's a boring guy though. He's got no personality. You know, his charm is only exceeded by his personality, and he's got no personality.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had the charisma bypass operation, hasn't he? You know, I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'll tell you what.
He knows how to build a football inside. That's the sort of football Spurs fans love. That Dutch side that come and play us, that Ajax side. That's what I want to see. If the manager's a bore, I wouldn't give a shit, right? But I mean,
He had a young team back then too.
Yeah, that was a fantastic team to watch, right? And it, like,
Mhm.
you know, we had to go for instead of them.
I mean, there's an argument that Postecoglou does that with his teams. He just hasn't been given the right tools to be able to do it. No, or is that just me being whimsical?
Well, I just think he's
I
been
don't know.
the perfect story.
We're 2 hours in, and I am conscious of time. And again, I just really want to give a shout out to all the 92 people watching us across all platforms. It is the Easter weekend. If you are one to celebrate that, so happy Easter, happy rabbits, happy eggs. It's also 420 weekend, so the Sabbath for me. I do want to touch on. We've been going a couple of hours. I would like to touch on. I do want to give a quick shout out to Steve, who's given up his time for us.
Drew. Keep
Steve
going.
from. Absolutely from Stateside Footy. You can catch him over there on YouTube. Do go over and check out his channel. There's some great content. Does Tottenham watch-alongs, Tottenham content, and MLS content if you are that way inclined. And then obviously go and check out Mr. Alan Rakdos Mandus at Team Tottenham Go as well, who also delves in some Tottenham content when he's not busy gallivanting. And then, Adrian or Ian, I don't know if you want to do
another plug for the channel.
Spurs Diehards.
Ian's going to host Tuesday's show. We're not doing a Sunday show this weekend because we've got Forest on the Monday, and we can cover a bit of the preview in Forest here anyway today. So Ian will host Tuesday, and I'll come on with him, co-host with him. But to the 102 we see you earlier. Look, if some of you can just make the effort to come over to YouTube and subscribe to Spurs Diehards TTID, that would help us enormously.
TTID.
It doesn't take much time. It's a big help. And we thank you all anyway for viewing us. And it seems with our shows now, because we started the Tuesday and Sunday shows, we moved them from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. We seem to be getting more viewers the longer we're on. Ian's kept commenting on it to me. He said, we'll keep getting more members. I don't know whether to close the show or not, because unless, if we can keep it interesting, we'll keep going. And we will keep going until you've had enough or the guests are worn out, right? You'll never wear me out. I can go 24/7 for the rest of my life, you know. So, but yeah, back to you, Drew.
Yeah, well done, Drew. Good
Yeah,
show.
thank you. Yeah, just wanted to get the guys down below. Just touch on this. With no relegation inside, do you just want to see more youngsters played in the league till the end of the year, just on the off chance that we don't have as much money as we think we do, and we need to bed these kids in?
Yes, 100% yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
We need to
absolutely.
see.
I would think that,
for example, we need to see if he's worth whatever transfer fee we come up with. Go on, Steve. I'll let you come in on that one.
well, that's usually the playbook, right? In a season that's already lost with nothing to play for, and you generally want to give minutes down the stretch to young players, right? I want to see Archie Gray play his natural position. I definitely want to see more Matisse Tell, and I definitely want to see more Mikey Moore, because that's experience, that's money in the bank for those kids. As well too, and it also, that's one of the things that you want to see, especially for a guy like Archie Gray, who played a big role in this, in large portions of the season, really has not seen the field lately. But moving forward, right, if you want to make sure that he's going to be an asset at the position that you think that he is going to be in the future, the future has to begin right away. Like next season going into the summer camp, you want to make sure that he's actually going to be able to give competition, and you can't do that unless he's actually seeing the field.
Fair play. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll bring it back to the present. Let's touch on this. Norway United, Bodo Glimt, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones. I don't know. I just threw something together. Them lot up there in the with the dragons and Heimdall and Asgard and all that. What are we thinking? Because I genuinely thought that we might actually, I can't believe I'm saying it out loud, but I thought we might actually be better off playing Lazio, because I did actually kind of question whether we can do it at home to such a degree that we don't need to worry so much about doing it away, because this lot are absolutely no mugs at home. They've got an artificial pitch, which has given me absolute PTSD Tamworth vibes. So I guess we'll go around the panel. We'll start with you, Adrian. Am I an absolute lunatic to have rather have played Lazio, or are we actually a little bit nervous about going away to this lot? Do you think we've got enough in the first leg that we don't need to worry, or is 1-0 at home going to make this really, really precarious?
Drew, you've always been a lunatic. That's why we made you an admin.
There we go. Hey.
Well said. Well said.
Look,
the reason I bring it up is because they turned over a pretty decent Lazio team at home, and Lazio struggled to bring it back, and then ultimately, obviously, lost going through. So I know we got big up Destiny.
And then Bodo scored late, didn't they?
Yeah, right. Big up Destiny in the chat. It says, if we can't beat Bodo Glimt, shut the club down. But they're no mugs, right?
Yeah, I don't know nothing about Lazio. I know that the Kakiris or the new young wing has been getting rave reports, and we were linked with him like we are every man his dog, right? As if we haven't got enough wingers anyway, even without two out on loan, So they've obviously got something about them to get this far in the competition, unless they've had a lucky run. I mean, I don't know. I don't know nothing about. I think Ange lost at Celtic, got beat by these. Ian, didn't Celtic knock these out?
I'm actually looking at some of the stats for both.
You're watching. You got Pornhub on, didn't you? You got Pornhub on.
I tell you what, lads, I do have a tiny bit of an echo coming from somewhere. Has one of you got something on, maybe?
So,
but yeah, I mean, ultimately, Adrian, we really.
I don't know nothing about them.
We'll go on, Ian. I tell you, if you've got some stats up, if you want to give us some.
Just about their
didn't Celtic get knocked out to Bodo Glimt? Did you watch them, Ian? Didn't Celtic get knocked out a couple of years ago, Bodo Glimt?
Yes, they lost home and away.
And they beat Roma as well. Didn't they beat Roma as well? They beat Jose Mourinho's Roma, I think.
Two things. They are no mugs.
Yeah.
Three things. Secondly, this is the semi-final of a European competition. So
Right.
thirdly, there ought not to be an easy game.
Was
Right.
it? Yeah.
Hang
Question
on,
on
Adrian.
that.
Adrian, hang on. Fourthly, if you're going to look at the games that we could have got, this is about as good as it could get. You know, when we got, I know it was a bloody struggle and we looked like we were going to get gubbed, but, you know, Ajax in the semi-final of the Champions League in 2019 was about as good as you're going to get. It's not a Barcelona, it's not a Bayern Munich, a Real Madrid. And it's the same here. I'm not going to suggest for a minute it's going to be easy. It won't. They're obviously no mugs. Although, as Destiny has said, I think they've got some big suspensions ahead of that first game. I think you were alluding to this, Drew, and I think you're absolutely right. I said White Hart Lane, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Thursday night, 60,000, loud fans making a noise. Let's take them apart. Let's beat them 3 or 4-0 and put the tie to bed. That's
I was
what
just
you're alluding to.
Yeah, I
That's
was
what
just going to
think we
say.
should
I
be
was just
trying
going
to do.
to. Yeah, I was just going to say to you, Steve. It should be a one and
Yeah.
done, right? 5-6-0 at home, and the second leg should just be a formality.
I don't think you
Yeah,
beat teams.
Yeah, if it was against Lazio, 100%, and that's the thing. It's like I actually would rather have faced Lazio in the semifinal because over the course of the season, yeah, they're a decent team, but they leak goals in inopportune times. Bodo Glimt scares me because that is a tough out. This is a team that's absolutely fearless, and I've seen them play against very good teams, and they understand that they don't have the top shelf talent to compete with with Tottenham Hotspur or any other team in the Premier League. But they have a belief in themselves, and they're going to make you play hard in order to beat them over the course of 2 legs. And I understand that they're going to be without a couple players in that first leg, but that's going to even give them even more resolve to come out and play tough. This is I agree with Ian, but that being said, this is a team that it does not care who they play. They have the ultimate confidence in themselves in order to beat anybody on any given day, and that's with the team that we have this year, where we have not shown up in
Right.
in times where you expect us to. I don't know, man. Like, I would like to think that we have the talent to move it to the final, but Bodo Glimt, man, that team is
Ian,
tough, man.
Ian, when Celtic played Bodo Glimt, right? Was it in the middle of Norway's coldest winter, which would make Celtic's coldest winter seem absolutely tropical to them?
I seriously don't remember, Adrian.
No.
And it might have been if we were playing Champions League the same night, I'd have been watching Tottenham. So I seriously don't remember. I just remember they did beat Tottenham.
They are in the higher. They are in the Arctic Circle. They are in the Arctic Circle. I mean,
they're above the Arctic Circle. This is in southern Norway near Oslo. This is at the top of the country, right? Where I think it's like a 5-hour train ride away from Oslo. So it's way up there. Way up.
It's not a question of you're freezing your bollocks off. It's a question of you got no bollocks to freeze, basically. You know what I mean?
But you're right about that artificial pitch. You're right, Drew, about that artificial pitch. You're absolutely right, though. That I do get a little weary. I do get a little Tamworth vibes with that artificial pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%.
Alan, we've just touched on the fact that obviously Bodo are going to put up at least a bit of a test. Are they testament to the old cliche that the sum of the parts is greater than the whole, and the fact that they might not have any outstanding stars and all that, but they do know how to play football. It seems they're no mugs getting to a semi-final, right?
Yeah, no. Look, I thought they gave up a lead against Lazio, and when I was looking at the scores, I saw Lazio ahead, and I was like, oh, okay, we're going to wind up playing Lazio. But then out of nowhere, boom, they won. So they're all pulling in the same direction, which is something that our team doesn't do consistently.
Right.
It just doesn't. And I will say, if we play like we played against Frankfurt, we have a very good chance of winning. We just need to
No
play like
issues.
that over both legs. And I hate to say it, but Arsenal showed that if you have a fairly sizable lead going in, it's very difficult to make up that kind of ground. Real Madrid couldn't make up that kind of ground. So if we can put 3 past them at home, we probably have a good chance of going all the way to the final. We just do. But I don't know. I know nothing about them. I know zero, other than I think they wear yellow jerseys, I think. Other than that, I know zero about them.
And they won't be used to playing on grass. They might be used to smoking it, but they won't be used to playing on it.
There's a couple of comments of guys in the chat about Lazio. That's sorry, let me just put that up from Destiny. Just for the avoidance of doubt, Lazio are Mussolini's team. Lazio is the home of Italian fascists.
Oh, wow.
That would not be a good match for Jewish Tottenham Hotspur. That would have been a bloodbath. I am so glad that we are not playing Lazio.
No, fair play.
Lazio.
I appreciate you bringing that up because, unfortunately, I was completely ignorant to that.
And
So, yeah.
Polo Glint's ground, it's massive. It holds 8,500.
Yeah. I mean, when Paolo Di Canio, who you remember, played
8,500
for West Ham.
Oh, my God.
I think 2,000
played for Lazio. And he made a Nazi salute at the crowd there. They are
that's
nice
right.
people.
That's right. No, fair play. Well, yeah, I'm glad. Number one, I'm glad they've been dumped out of the cup by Bodo Glimt. Then, there you go. I am going to touch on Monday's game. Obviously, we don't have you don't have the show on Sunday, so we will have a little look. We are playing Forest, who obviously are starting to get nosebleeds up at the top of the table there.
Is it a 2 o'clock kickoff? Shit. I thought it was an 8 o'clock kickoff.
Check, I could be wrong.
I better rearrange my diary. Go on.
Let me check.
You sure? Oh, yeah, because it's Monday. You sure you haven't got an American time there? Because 2 o'clock kickoff is like 8 o'clock in the evening. We're checking live, people.
Yeah.
Edge of your seats.
Had a brain fart, right?
I don't know, maybe. But anyway, we'll touch on obviously Forest flying high.
Because it's a bank holiday. No, maybe not.
Yeah, there's a full program of championship matches on the afternoon. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff British summer time, but there's a whole program of games in the championship.
It's a slightly out of
Nottingham Forest are 4th in the table at the moment.
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock.
Slightly out of form for us.
So 2 o'clock Central Time in America for you Americans. But Nottingham Forest, their last 5, they've drawn 1, won 3, lost 1. They're obviously doing really, really well. They're obviously going to be, I would think, well up for it because they're on 57 points. City are on 55. They both played 32. So obviously,
then they lost to Everton, didn't they?
Yeah, they lost a bad one to Everton.
Lost a bad one to Everton. So I don't know if that's just Everton are in a really, really good place at the moment. Moyes has got them playing really well. I mean, they're just playing very solid football. They're just no nonsense, no frills, I mean, you might not get anything too crazy out of them up front, although I do think, is it Undai? Their number 10 is actually pretty good, but he's old, so he wouldn't come to us. But anyway, Nottingham Forest playing well, but is there signs, potentially wheels coming off? They got City sniffing. They're obviously going to be up for it. We're maybe not going to be up for it because we're going to be resting because we've got all of our eggs in a Europa League basket. What do we think is going to happen? I'll open it up to the floor. We'll go clockwise. Ian, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think I would be making changes. You talk about predicted lineups. We can chat about that in a second. But I think the important thing with the semi-final and potentially a final coming up is that you do play some of the fringe players that we talked about earlier. And they're all saying, if I can impress, maybe I get a place in the starting team in the final. So I'm gonna rest Vicario. I'm gonna play Kinski. I'm gonna play Spence. I'm gonna play Davis. That means you probably got to play Romero and Udogie, because I don't think there's enough other cover. If you're going to then say, well, hang on,
we got
if you're
Danzo.
going to then say, I'm going to give Gray a game in midfield, because I think we all want to see Gray get a game in midfield.
Mhm.
Maddison only played half a game on Thursday, so maybe he'll play. You could play Basuma, so that would work. You bring in Udogie, you bring in let's give Mikey Moore a chance. For some reason, he hasn't had any game time. You give Richarlison a game. I'm not fussed about these league games. I genuinely want to keep everybody fit, healthy for the please 3 Europa League games we've got to play today, and we've got some strength in depth now.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think the reason we haven't seen more is a combination of a knock and it just being where we are in the season. I just don't think he's prepared to put the weight of Tottenham Hotspur on the shoulders of a 17-year-old, as much as we'd all love to see him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're right. Now that we've got some dead rubber,
Yeah.
you would expect that potentially you would see more of them for sure.
Fokoff, of course, mentioned Danso, who I forgot for some reason. But he could come in as well. So, Davis and Danso at the back, Spence at right back. I don't think we've got any option but to play Udogie again, unfortunately, because I don't know who else can play there. But to me, that's the perfect opportunity to rotate.
Well, can you just pop Spence in, no?
Spence at right back. I've got Spence at right back.
Oh, you have Spence at right back. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Alan, what are you thinking?
I remember
And because
watching Forest
I will say,
recently.
sorry, we do have the Liverpool game as well before Blint. So we have this home game to Forest, and then we've got Liverpool away, and then we've got Bodo Glimt. So we do have 2 Premier League games back to back. So I don't know if that changes your mind at all or changes anything.
Sorry.
I mean, as far as I think Ian's right. I think we rotate the squad to protect the players that are vital to our Europa League success. This is a slightly out of form Forest, because I think they're coming off of a loss.
Yeah,
I think
they did have 3 wins and a loss. So
2 losses.
Oh, is it 2 losses? Is it
2 losses?
They lost to Villa and Everton. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. No, you're right. Correct. Sorry, my bad.
So it is a slightly out of form. Chris Wood is not scoring like he was. Murillo in the back has been kind of questionable. Even Sells kind of having a little bit of difficulty. It's a team that we can beat. I just don't know that we will have the wherewithal to beat them, because we really do have all our eggs in the Europa basket. And to be honest, it like you said, it dead rubber. It's almost like a giveaway, right? If we win, awesome. If we don't win, well, it's par for the course, right? This season. I'm not troubled. As long as we win in Europa, I'm not troubled or bothered. So, I think we will rotate. I hope we heavily rotate. Although I don't know that I want to see Basuma play anymore. I just think that he's
fair enough. I understand that mentality.
He's super inconsistent.
What
you're right there, Adrian. You up to?
Yeah, what happened there? It wasn't me.
I don't know. Everyone there.
Wow.
Hey, there he is.
Extreme.
Let me ask you. This, Steve, because we do. Well, I guess the footballing narrative is that obviously there's a difference in fitnesses. All right, you got match fitness, and then you've got match, or I like to think of it as match fitness and match sharpness. So do you have to? You've obviously got to find a really nice balance over these next 2 games, because although you want to wrap your players that you're need him for Europe in cotton wool. You don't want to sit them all out for 2 games and then be rusty and be
that's
caught.
correct.
Be
correct.
caught out on Thursday, and then we're kind of obviously we're like a deer in the headlights because everybody doesn't know how to play football.
Right, and that's the biggest reason why I don't think we're going to see heavy rotation against Forest, whereas we might see it against Liverpool. They've already wrapped up the league. They're not necessarily playing for something where Forest actually is playing for something. And the other thing is you don't want to heavily rotate 2 straight league games and take away any type of sharpness or momentum before you play Bodo Glimt. I would. The reason why I go the opposite direction is because you want to see some carryover. You want to see some momentum from the Frankfurt game to make sure that it wasn't just a one-off aberration and this team reverts back to what we saw against Wolves or what we saw against Chelsea. So I actually expect here's the thing. Now if you want to rotate at right back or left back and bring Jet Spence back into the first team, okay, that's fine. But that being said, I would actually like to see Van de Ven Romero get a start against Forest. I want to see that relationship continue to develop and get those two some more sharpness and some more game time just to keep that going. But outside of that, I'm fully expecting to see Brendan Johnson and Dominic Solanke start up top against Forest, and I would probably assume that if if you want to give James Maddison a rest, okay, that's fine because you still want to give Kulusevski some run to get more legs under him, get more minutes as you are preparing for that first match against Bodo Glimt. So, I mean, for the most part, I would probably expect to see maybe 9 of the first team out there starting against Forest with maybe a few tweaks. I would actually see that more against Liverpool than I would against Forest.
And your point, I think, also with VDV, I think it was only his 6th start for us this season, which is crazy, right? But I believe that it was only 6 starts for VDV this year, which is crazy. But
I'm not into that whole stop start with center backs. I actually would like to see that continuity continue to develop. Maybe if you want to do it against Liverpool, okay, fine. But I mean, I just want to see some carryover. I just want to make sure that that match against Frankfurt was not an aberration. And I actually think that these players probably want to come back and play against Forest, especially to knock Forest off their perch and deny them the opportunity of finishing in the top 4. I think that would be a feather in their cap for some of these players.
Fair play. Adrian, what are your thoughts?
You've got to rest Maddison and Son for the Forest game. They have to be rested.
Yeah.
Son still, we don't know about his knock. You want him fit for Bodo, don't you? Because he is a big game player. Maddison, again, he's the creative influence. He's more creative than Decky is. I would expect Decky to start this game now that he's come on earlier than expected against Frankfurt. So it looks like he's got 90 in him. And if not, if he's only got an hour, you can hook him, can't you? So I want to see more of Tell. I'd rather see Tell playing on one wing, and I want to see Mikey Moore on the other one. And it doesn't matter which wing you put Mikey Moore on, really. It doesn't. He's that good. And I can see a case for a Charleston starting this game. I mean, he's obviously fit. What was really good against Frankfurt, those players not involved didn't get minutes. Did you see them all jumping up off the bench? There's a good team spirit. There's a good team spirit there. So that's the front three. The midfield, do you rest Bentancur? Do you start Sarr? Oh, please don't start Basuma. But in midfield, like, the selections aren't, unless you play Mikey Moore as a 10. I mean, there aren't, and he can do that. No worries about him doing that. But, is it too much of a change to play Sarr and Gray together? Once we've seen a blend of, as Madison's out, do you still play Bentancur and Bergvall, and then perhaps put Gray in, because 2 of them have played together a few games now. Then I can see Gray coming in. So you can do that because you can still rest those players in the next game. It's not, we play on May the 1st, don't we? So it's like 10 days from from the Forest game. I think we've got West Ham away in between that. Their cup final. So, yeah. So, oh no, we
Do
got.
you think
Liverpool.
we're going to go? You think we're going to go fairly? You think we're going to go fairly strong for? I mean, let's plan out the next two games. Do you think we're going to go fairly strong for Liverpool to get the players match ready?
Strong, just for the simple reason we've got players back, so we should believe that the squad is fairly strong with all these players back. But I just with Liverpool away, you don't want to get a hammering before you play Bodo Glimt, do you? You don't.
Well, if you're going off of if you're going off of patterns,
yeah. Hang on.
Liverpool away. Look, centre backs don't do as much running. When VDV said he's played at left back for Holland and for us, he said he found it like woo. He's great making these long sprints, but he ain't making them every 5 minutes, right? If Liverpool away, you've really got to be playing your team that's going to be playing against Bodo, as far as I'm concerned. So, or close enough to it.
Sorry, go on,
if
Steve.
If you're going off of patterns leading into the European play, whether it be the round of 16 or the quarterfinal, it's usually that league match heading into it is where we saw a heavy rotation, right? It wasn't that's usually the pattern that Ange Postecoglou. So I mean, against Forest, maybe, but it's most likely going to be against Liverpool where we're going to see heavy rotation. Getting that rest, it's probably where you're going to see Ben Davis play. You're going to see some of these other guys play ahead of the first leg of Bodo Glimt. That's probably
do you think he'd leave Maddison and Son out of Liverpool way?
Would I?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, to be honest with you, but Son, I wouldn't have Son in my first team at the moment. This is another story, but
correct.
I think they've got to be honest with themselves at the top levels of the club that maybe you can come on as an impact player. You need a goal in the last 15, 20 minutes. He's maybe the one to get it, but I just don't see him as being a starter anymore. The legs clearly haven't got it anymore. Some players, I mean, I don't think he's any younger than or any older rather than Mo Salah, but Salah's on a different level to him, unfortunately. I would rather see Tell or Odegaard start ahead of him, but not Werner.
You'd want to see
no love for Timo Werner.
See Kulu play the 90 minutes and start just to make sure and then you could rest him against. Mind you, it's an away game. It's the game you play Kulu in at Liverpool away, don't you?
Yeah.
You play him.
I'm pretty sure they left Timo in Frankfurt last night.
Yeah.
They took him. He had the one-way ticket.
I won't stand for the hatred towards Timo Werner. Somebody's got to stick up for the guy, so it might as well be me.
All right. Well. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a tough crowd. Tough crowd.
Well, maybe it's just me, but I still remember the 28 goal season that he had for RB Leipzig. Not even 4 years ago. You know what I mean? Where he was playing the false nine in that two striker system. That dude was on fire.
Yeah. No, he was. He did it. But I think.
Do you see Richarlison starting against Forest? Because that's the next game.
Harry Kane got claimed to be a one-season wonder, and look at him. And I think Timo Werner may actually be the definition of a one-season wonder. He just happened to be the perfect cog in the perfect wheel.
His mistake was going to Chelsea. Chelsea ruined.
Exactly.
Chelsea definitely ruined certain players, but Richarlison. Let me ask you a question, Adrian. I mean, to your question about Richarlison, do you think he's got 45 minutes in his legs to start?
Yeah, he wouldn't be on the bench if he didn't have 45 minutes in his legs. It was such an important game, wasn't it? But if he was going to come on, that would be down to Ange and how Solanke was doing. Solanke's got his goal, looking good, workhorse. He's... I was like that when Solanke came in at our club. Didn't really know too much about him. What I looked at, I thought, not greatly impressed. He's got 11 goals and 8 assists in all comps. So for his first season, it's decent for him in the modern game. Back in mine and Ian's day, you'd be looking for 20 goals for your central strikers, 20 from Archibald, 25 from Archibald, and 20 from Crooks. Where is that now? There seems to be some acceptance. I mean, even when Son got the golden boot, it was 17 goals. I'm scratching my head. I'm thinking like I've seen a lot more from from players at this club, strikers, you know. So would I start him? Depends on whether Slanky needs the rest. Let's go out to our wonderful science team and medical team, which I've got no faith in whatsoever. So I mean, why not? Why not start him? We're at home. Start him. Start Tell, because if Tell's going to be a future of this club, we're going to buy him. He's got to start. Well, we could still buy him. The price tag depends on how he performs between now and the end of the season, though. So he looks a talent, but we need to be convinced. And at the moment, no, for me. But
I think the thing with Tell is that at the time, I think people, you know, there may be an argument that at the time he wasn't exactly what we needed, because we needed really somebody to come in and really just be oven ready or hit the ground running, whatever cliche you want to use. And I guess he wasn't. Not only he wasn't twofold. Not only he wasn't because he's as young as he is, but he also wasn't because he'd had very little football in his legs at Bayern. Season before, I think he had 30 appearances. This season, I think he was down to about 6 or 7, and they were very few minutes. So he was always going to take a little bit longer. And I think that, as I said, the problem is that there's the anger is, why didn't you get something that we needed sooner? But I think maybe we are starting to maybe reap the benefits. And, you know, it's not long ago, the beginning of the season, we were told by numerous people, including his former coach, that Berryvale was maybe going to take 6 to 8 months to really get going. The luxury of that, or the benefit of that, is that he's our player and we get to see the fruits of it. The unfortunate thing with Tell is that we don't have that luxury. And now, you know, we're maybe just starting to see the fruits of it, and we still don't know 100% if he's going to be ours, if Bayern are going to call him back for the Club World Cup at any minute. You know, are we going to end up playing over the odds? I wouldn't want to see us pay any more than about 20-25 grand, 25 mil. I'd rather do another loan with an option or something like that, but I don't know. We shall see. We shall see.
100%.
Ian, just want to say, any parting thoughts? I know you've got to head off.
Yeah, I have. I've got a big day tomorrow. No, I mean, I was thinking, I think I was on Scarfy's show last night. I said I thought 25 to 30 million with add-ons max for Tell at the moment, but there's clearly a player there, and people just sometimes need to be patient. But I think everybody is starting to see there's a player that can do things. When he gets the ball, you get that sense of anticipation that something might happen, and that's always a good sign in a player that you're watching, particularly one so young. So, yeah, I'd like to see him at the club next season. Whether it's, as you say, a second loan option, not sure about that, or that we negotiate a lower price, but with bigger add-ons. Then, I like that idea. Of course, again, we're playing Champions League.
Yeah, Ian, I agree. The money's the big factor, isn't it? Because
it makes a big difference.
If you're going to pay that rumoured money, 50-odd mil, you can go and get someone who's proven other.
Well, absolutely. I mean, someone doesn't, rather get Matoma for 50 million or over, and Gyökeres or whatever. There's plenty of players at 50 million plus. But the boy's got something, there's no doubt. But, I'm just going to say cheerio to all of you guys. Been brilliant chatting. It's always great to talk when we've done well, and everybody in the chat as well. Thank you so much for your contributions. I'll be back hosting with Adrian on Tuesday night at 2100 British Summertime BST, which will be various times in the rest of the world, but I think 4 p.m. Eastern time, won't it? That will be 3 p.m. Central time in the United States, and whatever time in various parts of Asia and Australasia. So, look, thanks everybody. Drew, first time I think I've worked when you've hosted. Brilliant, done a great job, sir. So
Yeah.
No, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Ian.
Thanks, been
Very
really,
much.
really good,
Definitely.
really done well. And I'll Guido at the 235 at, or is it the 225 at Musselburgh? That's my horse. I've only got a share in it. It's not all mine. But
Well, you
he's
got the
8 years
tail or the
old.
leg in?
I've got 10. I haven't even got a leg. If you own a leg in a horse, you own 25%. I've got 10. But he's a brilliant uncle, and I like that, Destiny. He's a brilliant little horse, and he's got more than a puncher's chance tomorrow. He won this race in 2022 and 2023, and it was abandoned last year because of the weather. So we're going for the hat trick. So listen, guys,
Good luck.
thank you. I'm going to my bed, and see you all hopefully
Big up,
on
Ian.
Tuesday night. Take care, guys.
Good night.
Good meeting you.
Mhm.
Well, there we go.
Hello. Oh, hang on. My mic's gone. Give me 1 sec.
So, guys, we talk about this then. So, give us your predicted lineups before Drew comes back. Then, who do you think will actually start? Bearing in mind, I mean, I don't think Son or Maddison play in this game. I think it's not odd, it's don't need rocket science to work that out. But
Yeah, I think Archie Gray plays.
Gray play or not? I mean,
I think Kinski starts in goal. Rest Vicario. I would see Spence and probably maybe Danzo and VDV. VDV again, I believe he's only had like 6 starts. So I could see Danzo now that he's back from injury, potentially starting. And then Dogi, because he was finally showing signs of life again. So I would like to see Dogi, as he was pointing out, kind of continue that from Frankfurt. As far as the middle, I would say I'd like to see Archie Gray play in the middle. I think Sarr will probably start. I got a sinking feeling he's going to start Basuma, because if he starts Sarr, he tends to start Basuma at the same time. I know I'm in the same boat, like, no, but he does. I think he might.
he could play Decky there, trying to give you a get out of jail card. He could play Decky there.
He could play Decky there, but I got a feeling he's going to put Decky up front. And I wouldn't mind seeing Carlson start if he's healthy again, since he's got so many players to rotate. He's complained about that too. Postecoglou, he's saying, look, it's tough to. You have to know when to rotate and who to keep. A lot of players to satisfy. I think he's trying to get the most out of it.
Have that problem, right?
Absolutely, and I think he might play Kell, simply because for what we loaned, we pulled him out on loan, and we don't get him for much longer before we have to make a decision. So I got a feeling they want to see him as often as he's able and available to play. And who's on the right? I'd love to see Mikey Moore. I don't think Mikey Moore starts. I would like to see Wilson Odebear again. We haven't seen him in a couple of games, which is strange because he scored those 2 goals and then he kind of disappeared again. So I think Odebear to kind of start would be cool.
Yeah, Steve, what are your thoughts?
I think that we're going to see the same back five as we saw in Frankfurt. I think there's a necessary want to play their strongest lineup against a team that's still fighting for a top 4. They're still playing for something, so they're probably going to be up for it. I would just expect Ange to play his best back 5, and I do think that we're going to see. I think we are going to see Danso at some point, and I do think we're going to see Jed Spence at some point in that back. Now, as far as the midfield goes, Ange Postecoglou did say that James Maddison is perfectly fine. That he did kind of come off a little bit wobbly, but post game he didn't, he was pretty fine. But that being said, I would probably assume we're not going to see Maddison, so I probably would think like for like we're going to see Kulusevski in that role, and maybe some rotation with Lucas Bergvall. I do think he's going to start, but I think you're going to see somewhere around the 65th minute. Bergvall will come off, and I do think Betancourt plays as well too. Up front is where I do have a little bit better rotation because I do believe Tell and Solanke start, but I actually just kind of flip flop on the right side. I would actually like I would also like to see Wilson Odegaard get some run. I think this is actually a good opportunity for Wilson Odegaard. Me personally, I think he's far more dangerous in the attack than Brendan Johnson. I just think with Tell and Odegaard flanking a dude like Dominic Solanke, it's going to give a little bit better service from both sides. So they're not just one-dimensional trying to force things down the left-hand side. They're actually going to have a little bit more creativity on the right side. Guys who are willing to go 1v1 down that right side. Plus, I think Pedro Porro and Wilson Odegaard work pretty well together. So I would assume that might be it. As far as my score prediction goes, I don't see a 3-goal performance against Forest, but I am going to say that they lose their third straight, and I'm going to say 2-1 Spurs.
Nice. All right.
Nice.
Adrian, any final thoughts?
I'm not sure Kingsky gets the start.
Yeah, I don't either.
Because Vicaro's been hit and miss. I mean, he came back, was good out of Kingsky. We thought Kingsky started well, then he dropped off a bit, looked a bit shaky, letting us goal against Villa in the cup right through him. That should never happen. Vicario come in, did a while, started coming across, is looking good, then started shaky in his distribution. I think you need to stick with Vicario for confidence. So I think he starts. And, the goalkeeping coach, Rob Birch, needs to have a word and say, look, don't start trying to throw the ball out until we're set. Right? A lot of the time, his distribution is still questionable. So he starts. Yeah, Udogie starts for me because he needs to carry on with his current form. He hasn't been overplayed this season. So he starts. I think you can go with Gray and Danso. And you rest Porro and you play Spence because Spence hasn't played. Midfield and the attack. Now, this is a conundrum, really, because if it was me, I'm definitely playing Kulu in midfield for this one. Especially if we're going to give Bergvall a rest. And Bentancur a rest. It's just two. I mean, one of them has to start, I think, for me. So, yeah, I mean, if you're going to play Gray, you've got to play one of those two as well that's been used to the midfield. So, I would probably rest Bergvall 19, play Bentancur and Gray. Because at least they can play the holding pivot. And with Decky in front of them to give Maddison extra chance. I mean, we tend to pick 11 players if we think that's a solid 11 that's going to play for 90 minutes without knowing if players are going to be changed on the hour mark or half time. So hopefully no injuries. So up front, if Decky's playing in midfield and we're going to go for a workman-like side, then I would still play Tell because I want to see him. And I would bring in Richarlison, actually, because Solanke's been working his socks off and he might need a rest, but you can always bring him for the last half hour.
I mean, there's an argument that Solanke's just now started to play his way into some form, so do you risk that?
Yeah,
I know Richarlison needs minutes.
That's a good point. I mean, we can make valid points for everyone playing and everyone not playing.
Right, exactly. That's very true. Very true.
So,
very true.
And on the right, do I go with Johnson?
We do also have a little bit more of a respite between games, right? There's a little bit more time between this game and Liverpool than there would be between this game and another Thursday, right?
Correct.
Oh, put banner up, Miss Mannering.
That's on. So, like you say, that's. I mean, like the 21st is Forest,
Mhm.
and then the 26th is Liverpool. So it's like 4 or 5 day rest
Yeah, 5 to
period. We cannot afford to go to Liverpool and get spanked. I mean, the thing with the Liverpool game as well is they need, unless results go for them this weekend, and Arsenal were to lose against Ipswich, which I don't think is going to happen. I think they've got Ipswich. Let's have a look.
I thought Arsenal
Yeah.
gets it switched this weekend.
Yeah,
Right.
They only need
Right.
what, 3
So-
more wins, 4 more wins.
Two. So when we go to
really?
Liverpool,
Yeah,
that's the
wow.
win they need, right?
Wow.
It can only be us, right? It can only
That's
be
the
us.
win they need to win it in front of their own home fans.
Yeah,
having
that's the win.
lost
Yeah,
the
it's the win.
opportunity
Yeah.
to win it in front of
Yeah.
fans in
So,
2020.
this is why
We
I'm
actually have
saying-
Arsenal fans rooting for us.
This is why I'm saying we filled the team that's going to play against Bodo Glimt, right? Now I could be totally wrong. So I've gone tell. I warmed at him after that last performance. I warmed for him, like, you know what I mean. So I'd start with Richarlison. Actually, I'd start him against Liverpool because he's got a terrible knack being ex-Everton of scoring goals against them, right? So, and then I would play Mikey Moore. I wouldn't play Johnson, or it'd have to be Mikey Moore or Odegaard, right? But I think if Odegaard's still carrying this knock, right? Because the mole, I think Alan and Steve leaked this information out of training ground that about Odegaard being injured. I think they're the moles. I think we've got more than one mole, right?
Potentially.
Yeah.
Say no more.
I just want to see Mikey Moore playing. He can play on the left, on the right as a 10 in midfield. I mean, like, he's that good in my opinion. If he had lightning pace, he'd be world class now, in my opinion. But yeah, I just want to see Mikey Moore. So Odegaard might start. The reason he'll start is because with Odegaard, he came, for those that don't know, and there's 94 of you listening, which is fantastic for us. And it's Good Friday. Or now it's a Saturday, isn't it, for us in the UK? He came through the PSG Academy, went to Burnley, under Vincent Kompany at Burnley. His stats were identical to Nico Williams, who did so well for Spain. I know we'd all take Nico Williams, don't get me wrong. But yeah. And Kompany went off to manage Bayern, didn't he? And we ended up taking him. But all the arts and the yellow cards are fine. We have got no player. There was rumours that Bentancur would be suspended for Bodo Glimt. No, he isn't. All our yellow cards have been wiped clean. It's quarterfinal stage. Bentancur can play against Bodo Glimt. So let's kill that fake news, or if it's a deliberate fake news stories, it might just be like someone who's misinformed been spreading that around because he got a yellow card yesterday, right? So no, he can play and he will be playing, barring injury, of course. Fingers crossed. Yeah, so I want Mikey Moore to play. It may be that Odegaard or Tell get half each, and Mikey Moore comes on for one of them and gets half. But we know he had the virus. The club was allowed to disclose players' medical information. It was out for a little while, which I sniffed and thought, I'm only assuming and guessing, I could be totally wrong. I thought, it's COVID or long COVID, you know. That's what a lot of fans, I think, were suspecting as well. We don't know. It might have just been flu, but you get over flu a bit quicker than he was out for, right? So yeah. So he's obviously, back to his good old self. He's such a fucking good player, though. He's so good. I watched all them under 21 games. I watched him play at the young. I mean, this kid, he is the best player. I mean, since I go back to Hoddle and Perriman, he's the best player I've seen come through this academy. And I've seen some good ones come and go. And have good players, but not necessarily at Premier League or for old First Division level. Yeah, so I want to see Mikey Moore get game time. Yeah, so I'm going to go Tell. I think he'll go for the slightly older, more experienced players. I think he'll go Tell, Richarlison, Odegaard. But I expect Mikey Moore to come on. Who's not had their turn here? Someone else.
Drew.
Well, I think probably anyway.
Drew.
I've got a feeling that it will be very similar to Mr. Fokoff's lineup down here, with the exception. I don't know if Biss is going to get much more game time between now and the end of the season. I worry. I think he might have. I don't know. He's certainly not done
Do you
himself any
think he's a
favors.
risk? Drew, do you think he's a risk playing him? Because although he's got to
Maybe.
show himself to be worth buying in the window, and Palace are interested, but do you think his heart is in Spurs now? Do you think?
I
you know,
just. Do
do
you
you
know
think
what?
he
There was
knows his days are numbered and he ain't going to give it all?
I know nobody had a good game against Wolves, but there were a couple of times where I saw his responses and I saw just his body language, and him of everybody just did not look like he was there.
Right.
And I just wonder whether, from a meritocracy point of view, I just think he's put himself in a position where I think regardless of skill level at this point, he's not going to start in the Europa League. And like we've just said, if we're finally in the mindset. I mean, I've spoken the last few weeks of wanting to win every last game in the league. I didn't want to sack it off because there was money on the table. And given the owners that we've got, as much money as possible necessary for future transfers, If we're of the mindset now that the league is purely to keep rotation and minutes in legs and things like that, then there's an argument that there are other people, other players in this team that deserve minutes ahead of him. And the argument could be made that's been that way since the beginning of the season, when he decided that, while other people were off getting minutes in their legs, he was getting strange things in his lungs. So I don't know. There's an argument that's been there.
Didn't Basuma also take an impromptu ski trip?
Hang on, Adrian. Hang on, mate.
I was gonna ask you, didn't Yves Basuma also take that impromptu ski trip right in the middle of the season as well too? He missed training for a nice little ski getaway.
Right. I mean, I think that was a weekend away that everybody got. So I mean, there is an argument that he probably should have stayed at home. But then there's also, I guess, the flip side of that is, and I do like to kind of devil's advocate some things, there is also an argument that they're human. Everybody else went away, so why shouldn't he? But I'm kind of with you. I think where it shows kind of where the priorities are, right? You didn't need to be seen to be going off and taking a trip. You could have very much done the Dele Alli, I'm at home training with my friend. So yeah, completely get where you're coming from with that. Anybody? I'm conscious that we're almost hitting the 3-hour mark, and I do have to kind of get off somewhere. I didn't know if there's anything else we wanted to touch on before we start wrapping up, Adrian.
If you thought Basuma might earn himself a move abroad, perhaps Juventus or even Freiburg. What do you think?
I think there's still stock. Look, I mean, there's still stock in him. I think. I think other teams, they could say that, maybe he wasn't getting the time or used.
You call it stock. Other people call it nitrous oxide.
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't resist that one.
There'll be buyers for him. We have this thing at Spurs as fans that when players don't play well, we're like, we spend 40, 50 million for them, and then we say they're worth about £5 or something, or $10 or something like that. But there'll be a market for Basuma. He is very skillful.
100%.
If our history is any,
you have
the
to
one
stick
thing
him
that
in
is guaranteed is that he'll win a trophy, right? Because
that's what I was going to say. If history is anything to go by, he will win a trophy before we do.
Well, let's hope not. Let's really hope not in this
instance.
Like
Richarlison as well. Like, it's not a question of like what you value Richarlison as a Spurs fan. There is such a shortage of number 9s out there. There's a dearth of them. I mean, even though Arsenal need number 9s, they're not going to come in for Richarlison. But Calvert-Lewin's leaving Everton. It looks like he'd be favourite to go back there, actually. So you're going to get money for him. And it won't be like a 15, 20 mil that Spurs fans. The Spurs will still get 40 million for Richarlison. And if he goes to Saudi, they'll get even more. They'll get 50. Because there's a shortage of strikers. That's market forces, not what we value players at. And he's made a blast, called at me. So I don't want him at the club. right? But I'll see him starting Monday. I'll be there.
All good. What's RT? What we'll do predictions quickly. What is your prediction for Monday, Adrian?
2-1 Spurs.
2-1 Spurs. Steve?
2-1 Spurs.
Alan?
Desmond, TT.
Desmond, cheeky. I'm going 3-0. Why not? Have it. Let's go. Let's have it.
With a lineup with a midfield of Basuma, Sarr, and Decky. 3-0.
Yeah, I think something's just going to ricochet off somebody's ass, man. I think that's going to be the catalyst to a dominant second half. It's going to be 0-0. We're going to come out. There's going to be honestly, I'm predicting it now. 0-0 first half. Second half, he's going to put a rocket up him. He's going to say, "Go out there. It's for the home fans. We need to do something. Pull something out your ass. Someone's going to put a ball in the box. Going to deflect off somebody's bollock. That's going to be 1-0. Nottingham Forest head's going to go down. The 64,000 are going to start chanting, 'Come on, you Spurs. We are Super Tottenham from the lane.' And the goals are going to start flowing. Johnson's going to bag 2, 3-0. Done."
Well, I should have a bet because I had 0-1 yesterday. I had a bet on that. And a £140 on the National Lottery in England.
Keeping the lights on.
My mother always says everything comes in threes. And I haven't had a bet on the Forest game yet. I'll think of something. I only do silly pound bets, though. I do like £4 or £5 bets.
I got Decky getting a goal and assist, and he will score one right before the half, and he will assist Dominic Solanke in the second half as Spurs hold on for a 2-1 win.
He's got 10 goals and 10 assists this season, I think, already, Decky.
Alan, do you have? Is he still there? We'll go to you quick. Alan, you got anything going on with your channel that anyone needs to be aware of coming up? Or are you too busy with work?
No. I'm going to be doing I do this thing where I kind of go over like Postecoglou and Son and my impressions of them. So we're wrapping up at the end of the season. So I'm going to talk again about my thoughts on Postecoglou and on Son. And
I was going to say, is that actual impressions of people, or just like you just summarize them? You don't actually take on their persona and do a literal impression.
Oh no!
Okay,
maybe that would get me more views. I should do that.
There you go. Brilliant. Well, this is downstairs, down at the bottom of the screen. Everybody, Team Tottenham Go. This is where you can find Alan doing his thing, roundup impersonations or otherwise. Steve, pleasure having you back as always. Part of the furniture now. Stateside Footy. What are we saying? What you got going on?
Well, tomorrow morning we have our Saturday morning Spurs show, and I believe you and Adrian are going to be on that fine program tomorrow morning.
I'll be on it.
We're going to be lighting it up. Certainly are.
Unless Drew decides to sleep in because he's had one heck of a start to his weekend this afternoon. So that Drew is a little touch and go for tomorrow, and same thing with Adrian, depending on how many beers he drinks tonight. You know what I mean? Depends on the quality sleep. Depends on if he's going to wake up.
Well, I'm a night owl. I don't normally go to bed before 3 a.m. So like.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So.
Burning the candle on both ends up there, and then. And then tomorrow night we have our MLS live stream, Seattle Sounders versus Nashville SC. And yes, there is a Seattle Sounders bias. We're a huge Sounders channel, so we might as well just, instead of renaming it, instead of having it Stateside Footy, let's just call it Sounders Footy and just get over with it. You know what I mean? Because it really is a big Sounders channel. So that stream's going off tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, and I believe that's probably midnight UK. So if you have any, if there's any, closet MLS fans over there in the UK,
join in. You know where we'll be.
Man.
There you
That's
go.
Exactly right.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. Once again, thank you very much, Alan. Adrian, anything you'd like to sign off with?
I shall be like tomorrow if I'm up in time to be on Steve's show. I hope I am. I should be doing my usual fishing around every media platform I can find to gain, to garner information about Spurs, this club, whether it's the women's team, the under-21s, the academy, the main team, the first team. I should be doing that as usual.
I think you need to make. I think you need to make a point of getting up and getting the robe on stateside footy. We need the robe
The
over
weather's
there.
a bit warmer here now, you know.
So,
Weather's a bit warmer here, springtime.
Can you
Yeah,
imagine showing up in a robe?
Yeah.
oh, no, we don't need to imagine. We
I'm
Yeah, you don't need to imagine.
That's a little too sexy for my channel.
Yeah, I've got the nickname
Yeah.
of the Roadmaster as well out there as well.
Adrian is too sexy for this channel.
Probably too old
Yeah.
for it.
There you go. Well, I tell you what,
But-
yeah, we've been going for 3 hours, so I just want to say a huge thank you to the 91 people across all the platforms watching us. Big shout to everybody in the chat over on YouTube. And do remember, everybody listening, if you do get over to YouTube, do smash a like. If you care to, please do subscribe. It does help us to put out, just more content and to keep you notified of such content. Adrian, any parting words?
Not really, just for all you that have liked the channel and come in and watched, and those that have stayed with us, if you could just subscribe to our YouTube channel, that would be a big help to us. It really helps the algorithm, helps the channel grow. That's the main thing. Obviously, if you leave a comment, we will reply to comments. If we grow big, we probably won't have time to, you know what I mean? Like in the chat, we won't. But at the moment, we were able to answer people in the chat because there aren't so many of you. But we'll have to pick you at random when we grow. I'm sure we will grow, and we will grow with your help. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks for everyone's.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. And on that, we will leave it there. And I don't know where the outros video's gone. So
No, there isn't. There isn't. Just end the stream. We'll see you in the background.
End the stream. See you in the background, boys. Later.